Okay, I'll try again. Have a motion to come out of closed session, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so thank you, everybody, for joining. We were in closed session and click on it.
Mayor, who second to come out of closed session?
Ramon did.
Thank you.
And it was unanimous. Councilman Farrow and Lou and myself are located at Borough Hall right now. We're outdoors with some members of our public also zooming in. We are socially distanced from one another and we are near each other. We put face masks on. The meeting I wanted to have was live and Zoom, but our council majority won't do it that way. So putting the borough's business first, I found another hybrid way of doing this, which is Zoom, but we could all be together in Zoom and live as well. So we are now out of closed session. The next item on our agenda, our department head report. Everybody's gotten those in July. If any council member has a question regarding those department head reports, feel free to ask now, or ask the borough administrator not wearing her borough crew hat. We received 2 items of correspondence. One from a resident, Emily Gill, and a serious correspondence, and one from, and I'll read it to you actually, because it was something I appreciated receiving. There's 1 minute, kind of windy out here. So we received a letter dated July 21 from Colonel Patrick Callahan. He's the head of the state police. He wrote, "Dear Mayor Cranbrook, thank you for the proclamation from the governing body, Englewood Cliffs, in support of the New Jersey State Police. Unanimous action by the governing body is greatly appreciated. This day of notable newsworthy events. It is not often we hear the positive effect law enforcement has on the people we are tasked to serve and protect. We are proud to be the company of our fellow law enforcement officers in Englewood Cliffs and Bergen County. Once again, thank you for your comments and support in all matters of mutual concern." So I was delighted to receive and sharing that with you. Okay, next up on our agenda is I wanted to just mention my agenda got mixed up.
I can't hear you.
What's next on the agenda?
Minutes.
Okay, so under the minutes, let's do a couple of things here. There's some corrections, typos.
Make a motion to pass the
Hold on,
minutes.
I have the floor, Mr. Councilmember. I have the floor with corrections to be made.
I can't hear you, Mario, so you're...
There are corrections to be made in the minutes.
Mayor, I think it's hard to hear you properly. Mike is in
How's this? So, for the clerk, on the June 18th minutes, on page 2, page 3, there's a sentence that starts off, "We must bridge," under the Gregorio comment, and there's no other wording after that. It just says, "We must bridge." Do you see that? So that needs to be corrected. On in the following minutes from July 8th, on page 4, there's a foreign spelling of closed session, S-E-S-I-O-N, with an accent over the O. The reference to RDB and RBB should be to RDB.
I'll make those corrections.
Ray, Dave, Peter, RDP, okay? That needs to be corrected.
Okay.
And again, on page 5 of those minutes, you have the foreign spelling of session again, or one of the foreign spellings of session, S-E-S-I-O-N. And then on the closed session minutes, I was there in closed sessions and I object to them because for the following reasons. One, I've always said I oppose any residential housing at 800 Sylvan. And 2, I oppose any settlement with Normandy Development. And those 2 things I've mentioned at every closed session meeting. Don't mind making that public because I've said that publicly as well. And that needs to be added to each of those closed minute meetings. Because I feel that there's so much being missed in the closed session minutes. I would like to start recording those sessions because then we can check what was actually said. And you'll see that I actually say those. So with that, so I don't know if Councilman Wu had any comments to add.
Comment is that minutes are, the last couple of meetings, all of these minutes are being produced 17 months after the meeting. As a result of that, there's omission of comments that will be made by the mayor. The mayor, I can vouch for, has made clear those 2 positions at every single closed session. And generally, he's also asked how everyone in the room feels about the settlement as well during some of the closed sessions. So I'm not going to go into details regarding that, but I did not see them. I didn't see that the surveying of the council members in any of these minutes.
Okay. Motion.
So will the clerk correct those?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve as written, minus the typos, to correct the typos.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is I'm not a proofreader, so I think somebody else should proofread as well.
I'm muted, actually. I guess I wasn't even on the mic.
Wait, Councilman Wu was muted, so he needs to restate what he just said.
He's not muted.
I am muted.
Yeah, regarding these closed session minutes, they've been tabled in each of the last couple meetings, 17 months after the meeting transpired. There were comments omitted, missed, and also, you know, I vouch for the mayor saying that at every single meeting he stated his 2 positions very clearly, which is that he opposes residential housing at 800 Sylvan, and he opposes any settlement. He stated that in public as well. He's also surveyed the council members to see what everyone's position has been. And I see things that just are not reflected in the minutes that the borough clerk has put together.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Call for vote, please.
Councilperson Sparrow?
Vote 3.
I'm sorry?
Councilman Aversa, are you referring, which minute are you referring to right now?
All the minutes. All the minutes that are on the agenda to get approved. This is like William said, Bill said, it's kind of been on there a long time. We tabled it. Just get them through.
We
They're
we
fine.
either go through one at a time, or when you
Sure,
call
sure.
the vote, you could say which one you're not voting for.
Yeah, why don't you just do a group and whoever needs to recuse from whatever they can,
Okay.
or say no to all, or whatever they, whatever the council people choose.
All right, so I don't vote, but I do object to all of them.
Okay.
Councilman Farrow?
The 2020, no, and the 2019 abstain.
Okay. Councilperson Sabari?
Yes to all.
O?
Yes to all.
Song?
Jimmy appears to be muted.
Yep. Councilman Song?
Yes.
Aversa?
Yes to all.
Wu?
No to all. I just want to add one statement. The borough, just for the public to know, the borough clerk has stated that she will have closed session minutes prepared and ready for approval at the next mayor and council meeting, rather than this 17-month delay. Is that correct? Was that?
Actually, she said October meeting, Bill.
Yes, I said by
No,
the.
but I
October.
directed that they be done by September. There's no
Okay.
reason not to have them.
All right, they will be done by the October meeting, Mayor.
Well, I'm directing, you could keep saying that as much as you want, but I'm directing you to do them for September, because we shouldn't have to wait 2 months to get
Well, you shouldn't
minutes.
have pulled them off the agenda so many times. Okay.
Well, actually, that's an interesting comment, because I'm asking for tonight's minutes to be done by September, and therefore they were never on the agenda, because we didn't have a meeting.
No problem.
If you need help to get them done, you can ask somebody else to help you with them.
No problem. Thank you.
Can we take the vote? Can we continue?
Yes, no, we voted already.
Yeah, so
Can we move on?
make a,
Did everybody vote, or did you go
everybody
through the entire
voted.
roll call?
Yes.
So next is the public portion. Can I have a motion to open the public, please?
So moved.
Have a
Second.
second?
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so for members of the public who wish to be heard, you could virtually raise your hand, or video raise your hand, and I'll call upon you. We'll go one at a time. It's a formal meeting tonight, so you only have one chance to speak, those are our rules. And by the way, I've asked all council members to turn on their cameras and stop hiding. The public needs to see it. And I'm not even sure if it's a valid forum, because people may not be present. So to the extent any action is taken and your camera is not on, I will assume you're not there.
Mayor, I opened up Mr. Kim.
No, wait a minute. There were other people with their hand up first. Mr. Mesa had his hand first, and I'm conducting the meeting. Mr. Duffy. Go ahead, Mr. Mesa. You're muted. Could you unmute yourself, sir? Mr. Mesa, you're muted. You're still muted. I'm sorry, you're still muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Someone's got to unmute him.
I'm doing that. I've selected mute. He hasn't.
Can you unmute Mr. Mesa, please?
I did.
Okay, now yes. Okay, I just heard that there were meetings of closed sessions and open sessions approved, dating back 16, 17, 15 months before. I also saw them last time, and I saw them in June or July, and I saw them today. This council and the clerk, all of a sudden, has basically rewritten history, okay? Some of it might be true, some of it might not be true, but basically, this entire meetings, I see one common thing, couple of other things there, but why after 17 months are these meetings being rushed and being approved? I saw the minutes of the last time, again, the same thing. You 2-3 people objected and the rest of the majority used their majority force to approve them. And basically, I think they are bogus. They have some of the things to basically suit their needs. They are there to show and to fight, or in lieu of either my filings or other things which are going on in court proceeding, they are actually releasing documents today. Okay, that was one. Number two, I also saw the censure motion based upon you and William Wu. First of all, I thank Mr. Wu for filing some documents, which I downloaded from the court record today. I saw them. And I also have the meetings which were uploaded to the court, filed in starting of the month, when Ms. McMorrow had stated, and I had already, I go to e-courts often, and I had downloaded those things. So I have copies of those closed meetings, closed session meetings anyway. Now, of course, they've been taken off the court, or there was an order passed to redact them or take them off or whatever. This all goes to show why an investigation is needed. Investigation is needed because the censure motion today, I see written by one of the attorneys for the borough, okay, because none of the council members are capable of writing it. It was written in a lawyerly language. And they are basically to distract the attention from their wrongdoings and what they have done and what has been going on in this, okay? To remind everybody, they're stating today that, oh, on July 10th, because you took us down the wrong path. But going back to October of 2018, I had just moved into the town. I remember very vividly Ms. Sabari and Mr. Song and everybody at the Johnsonville Park and other places, they were out there and they were campaigning on based upon opposing this so-called development, residential development on 800 Sylvan. All of these guys knew then, and at least the Democratic, if these two members were new, the rest of the Democratic people knew that if you guys had already sabotaged the, the land scenario so bad, then they shouldn't have made that statement. Today, now they're turning around, oh, because you guys did so bad that we now lost. Anybody who's got common sense, and I maybe have a little bit extra, I see nothing. When you fight a lawsuit, you present your best evidence, you do everything what is required. None of that has been done here, okay? And if there was no issue, why are the Republican members, by the way, I'm not a Republican, okay? Why are the Republican members taken off and they are not in the loop? Why are they out? Why do they not share? Why they are not allowed to talk? Why is everything being channeled through Albert Wunsch, okay? And you guys approve bills with 24 to 25 hours of one-day billing for Mr. Albert Wunsch? That means you don't even know what's going on. I just saw some bills and I just picked up on one day, 24 or 25 hours. And I was laughing to myself. Wow, this is the best job which Albert Wunsch has landed, making $500,000 a year. To do what? What's his job here? In Deborah Savari's word, negotiator. In Mr. Jason's word, Jimmy Song rather, not Jason. Oh, that he's a good negotiator. Ms. Savari said, oh, it was brought in a negotiator as of the 3rd of July, 2019, when in 2018, they were saying they're gonna fight this. So from the day one, they needed the negotiator to fight this. Come on, that speaks volume, okay? Now, question here is, who and why, what is that why are they trying to hide? What I saw in 2017-18, that the rest of the council members, there were 3 Democratic council, there were 3 Republican council members, and I think there was the entire council used to share and do. The mayor might be opposed to it, but the whole council used to take that vote and do whatever it had to be done. And I believe, okay, that everything was shared, because I haven't heard of complaints or I haven't seen anything in the record which shows that the rest of the members were not getting anything at the same time. So today in the censure motion, I read since 2015, the mayor, so the so-called bully, he became the leader and he had a Republican council. I don't recall of Republicans ever having majority, at least in this time frame. When I came in, there were 3 Democrat members and 3 Republican members. So what is that the guy is trying to write in this censure motion? They're wrong things to begin with. And that he ran it through. He did not even get selected until 2016. So how he could have been in charge of 2015? And in 2016, on day 1, the mayor should have known that what is required or not required. Still, all the old members of the old regime were still in place, each and every place, including the council, including the attorney, including most of the planning board members, everywhere. Even today, most of the guys working in the government is controlled by the Democrats. So what are they talking about over there? Do they think that the people are fools and basically they don't understand what's going on? Stop blaming this current government or this current, the mayor or whatever. Get to it. You guys engineered a great loss. You are blaming him today for the losses? When he doesn't, the lawyers are listening to you. Ms. Sabari, you are running Albert Wunsch, and Albert Wunsch is the one who's controlling. I have read the letter of which Albert Wunsch submitted to the judge, okay? It was a shame and disgrace when he was telling the judge, hey judge, mayor is bad, mayor is wrong, and I am going to follow the law. I am going to do, and we are going to do, but he's the one who's not. So you are actually behaving, and he behaved like a small kindergarten, okay? Students, where the headmaster comes and says, oh, I'm gonna slap your wrist. Even if there was an issue, these are the things which you sort out in your closed sessions. You don't go out and tell the judge, okay? So, and first of all, I don't believe that anyway, but legally, if we are going to fight for our rights, we should. This is the place.
Thank you, Mr.
5 seconds, Mr. Versa, please. I am not allowing, no, it's my time right now. You can come and talk whenever you want.
had 5 minutes and the mayor gave you 8 minutes so far, so
Okay,
more.
sorry.
Please let the resident.
Thank you.
30 more seconds, Mr. Hatcher, if that's you wanna
Sure.
talk, you can talk, okay? After me. So the last thing, please, you want to do political grandstanding, please do it. Please do it at the back, okay? Don't affect the interests and the future of the citizens here. We moved here. Had I known that this nonsense was going on, I would have never moved here. So having moved here, I do not want to uproot right now, okay? Because otherwise it's not worth it. Please do what is right for the town, okay? And not your political agendas or your political parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Yes, Mr. Kim, Stephen Kim. All right, you need to unmute yourself. Okay.
All right, good evening, Mayor, council members, and fellow residents. I know that Norman, the issues they huge issue in our town, but I'm gonna divert to another issue that we've been, as residents, been raising with the town mayor and council members. On June 8th, me and Yoe Lee, we met in person with Chief Henkelman, along with Ms. Duffy, and I think Councilman Aversa was in the meeting via phone. And this basically is issue that's arising out of the basketball court in the Veterans Park. And some of you may know or may not know that the basketball court that's in Veterans Park between Bayview Avenue and Birch Street in the south side of our town is actually open to the public, unlike the basketball court that's on the north side, which says clearly for residents only. So I did not know that. In any case, we've been having major issues with out-of-towners monopolizing, publicly urinating when they need to go because there's no public facility for it, intimidating our residents because they hoard and monopolize the courts because there's no time limit as to who uses for how long. And unlike the ordinances that set forth the time of hour of play that's up in the upper cliffs, there's no time ordinance in our south side. So there's been major issue on breach of noise ordinance. There's a lot of safety issues and health issues, and so many concerns. So me and Yoe Lee and many other concerned residents, we got together through many Zoom meetings and came up with a lot of issues and facts and evidence. And we had a very productive meeting for about a month. And I do thank Mayor for inviting us in person for a meeting on June 8th. So we had a very good productive meeting. And me and Yoe, we came away from the meeting that the mayor heard us, the council heard us, the chief heard us. And so I gave plenty of time for the mayor and the council and chief to come back to us with some response, some comprehensive response. And so I figure, now it's August 24th. I gave more than an ample time. And coincidentally, for some of you may know, on June 8th, Governor of New Jersey mandated that any social activity outside of, outside activities that cannot have social distancing, such as basketball, cannot be had. And so I think with that mandate just being coincidentally coming on that date, we got the rims down. And since then, I just wanted to tell the mayor and the council and everyone that it's been quiet. I see more kids playing in the park, family walking, jogging, and just enjoying it. No noise, no outsiders causing havoc and whatnot. So that's been the situation here. But today, unfortunately, and by indirectly, I found out that one of the concerned citizens emailed me and said, oh, by the way, the park hasn't been cleaned up in a long time. It's a mess. So she contacted DPW and she said that, oh, it will start, the cleanup will start today. And by the way, the courts and everything would be opened up per mayor's directive. So she emailed me concerned, thinking, is the nets going back up? And so I obviously called the town and spoke with Ms. Duffy, the town administrator, and she confirmed that the mayor had directed all the courts to be open. So I assumed that the nets would be put back up. And so I was, disappointed, obviously, for not having an official response or let alone a direct call or email of some sort from the town, but to hear from the DPW head who just happened to mention it to our fellow residents. So I had an exchange with the mayor, text before this meeting, and he had basically said, hey, what's the difference between upper, Cliffs Court and the Cliffs and the courts down in the south side? I said, obviously, the question in and of itself ignored all the comprehensive and very tight, well thought out concerns we presented. And this is the 2.5-page petition we presented to the mayor. And so it was quite disappointing to hear about this. And so what I want to ask the mayor and all the council members is that, was this decided by all council members, with the mayor and with the chief. I just wanted to know how this decision was made in light of the fact that we still have COVID pandemic is still here with us, and we're gonna have kids playing basketball, sharing breath, sweat, no social distancing whatsoever in our town again. So I just want to ask the mayor how this came about with this decision, how no communication was put forth to me or Mr. Lee and to council members. And I'm assuming that you've all read and deliberated on these concerns I presented on June 8th. So I look forward to your answers.
So let me start off by saying Englewood Cliff is a welcoming community, and that's number one. Number two, basketball was being played there until June 8th. And it was also being played in the North Cliffs basketball courts at Johnson Field. June 8th, the two things happened, like you mentioned. You came to visit us with your friend or other neighbor, and the governor signed an executive order basically requiring social distancing by our interpretation, by our health officer interpretation on basketball courts. So we closed both, and we closed the children's playground as well. The issue with the South Cliff basketball court is that many years ago, before I was mayor, county and state funds, I believe, were used to construct that basketball court. And so it's been there a long time. And when you take that type of government money, you can't restrict it to residents only. Because then that would be another conversation. So what happened last week on Thursday, reading the COVID report for the state and what I thought was the governor's new direction, I told our borough administrator to reopen the basketball courts and children's parks if our health officer decides that that's permitted. And then I didn't hear back, so I assumed that the health officer said it was permitted. So we are still working
If they pass it, they pass it.
on the issues.
He doesn't, they have the majority.
We're still working on the issues.
You can ask that question. Yeah. Well, they can bring it.
We may end up putting a fence around the entire basketball court. And safeguarding it some other ways. But we cannot tell non-residents to not play basketball courts next to your house. And that's what you want. I can't do that. What I can do is make it safe. And Chief Henkelman will take care of that, and our DPW. So there's two different issues, right? Keeping them open to play, and making the residents feel safer. By the way, you've said a lot of things about people doing things, but I don't think you actually produced any evidence. So I have to be very careful about how we make decisions. We are fact-based. And we are going to work through this with you and find a good solution. But right now, basketball is open.
So Mayor, just to reply to what you just said, so we closed the basketball in light of the Governor Murphy's mandate. Okay, that's fine. But we presented many other issues. First of all, why is there an inconsistency with the signage in North Cliff basketball court with South Cliff? Meaning there's a timeline and an hour, for example, there is an hour limit for play. There's no limit to play at South Cliff basketball court. There's so many inconsistencies with signage.
You're ignoring the big fact.
What?
Big fact, you're ignoring the big fact. The big fact is that county and state money is used to build the courts by your house. And that's not the case with the North Cliffs. And North Cliffs has a fence around it. And the courts by your house don't. So my solution, I think, is going to be to completely fence in the basketball courts by your house.
By the way, Mayor, my voice is among the 23 plus residents. So when I hear these evidence and facts from these residents, they are not here. And there's one reason that they're not here is because there are a lot of issues that are sensitive that we did not want to make it public for the town's sake. And so I hope that you know that we were being discreet in not presenting evidence with 23 other residents that can be here on Zoom. But we heeded your advice. That's why you do not have the facts in front of you. And so you are hearing from me as if you're hearing 23 voices. And secondly, it's not just my house, it's many residents here. And you have ignored it since I spoke with you last year. And this issue has been going on for over 5, 6, 7 years. And so it's before this issue was here before you became mayor. And so I just want to know that what we need to do, as we had a good productive meeting, why do not have a comprehensive plan to open the basketball? I'm not against having a basketball court. It's just that there are no rules set in place to manage the basketball courts. As of now, when it was open for the last 6 months, 4 months, 90% of the play were done by non-residents.
Okay, let me do this. Let me repeat for you what I said, and if you still don't understand it, we'll talk about it again. The courts were closed on June 8th. Not because you complained, but because the governor said no basketball, essentially. And our health officer advised us. We were working on a plan. We had a pandemic to deal with. We had some other things in town to deal with. And we had a major storm come through here. So I'm sorry that the basketball court that predates me and you in town is such an inconvenience, but we are working on it. And I did say that to you 10 minutes ago, but you're not hearing that. We are working on a solution, right, Mr. Kim?
No, I heard you, but your solution, you have not communicated with me or Mr. Lee for the last 2 months.
Right, let me repeat it again for you.
Okay, let's not be disrespectful. Let's not do that.
No, Mr. Kim is running for office, and if he's going to be a politician, he's free to say what he wants to say, but right now he's a politician.
I'm not being a politician.
We are going to find a solution to your problem, but more importantly, to your neighborhood's problem, because that's what I do. But I don't grandstand about it. I don't have a duty to call you every day. I am relying on my police chief and my borough administrator and my DPW head to tell me what they think is in order. Unfortunately, other matters came up, and you'll just have to be patient with us. And you had 2 months, over 2 months, without the basketball. So just indulge me to be able to solve your problem. You're well over 5 minutes, but Mr. Aversa's clock stops for people when depends on what political party they're from.
May I just have other council members chime in on this issue, Mayor?
That's fine. They haven't talked to me about it, so if you talk to them, I'd love to know what you said to them.
I haven't.
But I haven't had any conversations with Stephen Kim about the basketball courts other than what we know about through the council. You know, it was my understanding we were going to work on figuring out a solution because the basketball courts up at Johnson's Field are not surrounded by homes. So potentially maybe a way to minimize the impact on the residents is to come up with some type of hours that the basketball court could be in play so that the residents that are surrounding the basketball court, and I realize that they've been there for a long time, but it appears from what I'm understanding, and I don't know this for a fact, that it's not our residents that are using the courts, it's a lot of outside residents. So there's a lot more activity and a lot more people. So I do think we need to do something, and perhaps maybe changing the hours, making it, if we can't make it residents only, we definitely can change the hours.
Look, I
So
said
we
we're gonna put a,
into
I
that.
said we're gonna put a fence.
He has to chime in, so I'm just chiming in with.
Okay, that's fine. I said we're gonna put a fence around it, and if we put a fence around it, there's going to be a gate. If there's a gate, we're gonna lock the gate.
Mario, I was muted the whole time, so I don't mean to interrupt, but I couldn't
Whatever the
chime
hours
in.
are, city field.
I couldn't chime in when you were talking, but we had talked about it on June 8th, and that was a solution that we thought might work, is fencing in the whole thing. But I don't know, I didn't know the basketball courts were put back up. I didn't have anything to do with that. We didn't, at least I didn't know about another meeting that included putting those back up.
Well, here's the thing. I opened the court for the North Cliff, and I don't want to be the guy that gets yelled at for not opening the one for the South Cliff. So they're both open right now. We had other projects to take care of before we finished this project, which are more urgent and more emergent as well. And we will take care of this as well. I have a resident here. Yes, ma'am. Just come up to the microphone and state your name and address.
So Mario, just so you know, I was muted, so that's why I couldn't chime in at the 5-minute mark. I would love to. You should know that.
Mayor, I was also muted.
Hi, my name is So Young Lee. My address is 195 Pershing Road.
Gloria, again?
I actually have a question for Councilwoman Sabari. It's a yes or no question, so please say yes or no. Are you a convicted felon?
First of all, I won't be told to give it a yes or no answer, because that wouldn't be acceptable to me, and I don't think it's a yes or no answer.
The reason for the question is
I will make a
you are a
statement.
councilwoman.
Okay, who's speaking? Who's speaking?
Are asking to leave.
I'm sorry, would you like me?
We, the affordable housing matters and all other important matters, which are very important to the resident interest and all of us. And I'm announcing here as a leader of Sabari and Stone Recall Committee that we initiated the effort to recall Councilwoman Sabari and Council member Jimmy Song. I have no interest in politics. We are doing this as residents. I have not met Mayor in person ever. I only talked to him once about a question. I am not interested in politics. And the reason I moved here 10 years ago and chose this town because of the low property taxes and proximity to Manhattan. As a working mother of 2 children, I usually do not get involved in politics because my life is hectic as it is. In fact, I did not spend a minute of my time on local politics until last year when this whole mess became unbelievable, and I had to pay attention. And after I reviewed all the documents out there, and I have been doing this for over 20 years as an attorney, I realized that this town is not going in the right direction. I'm doing this only because of my self-interest. I do not want my property tax to go up. I do not want to reduce my house value. That's the biggest asset of our household. Back then in 2019, I was infuriated by the fact that the current council controlled by Democrats was trying to settle against the resident opposition, effectively selling our town to Normandy. Still, 1 year later, the Democrats are continuing their betrayal by trying to settle with Normandy. While they say, and they are trying to deceive all the residents who are too busy with their lives and who do not have time to pay attention to this matter, they are saying their opinion. But behind the scenes, they are trying to settle so hard. This settlement will not stop the affordable housing obligations here. But maybe the number can be a small number right now, but in the fine print, embedded in the document, that settlement will allow a lot of areas of the town to become overlay zone, which means that those zones, resident development developers can come in and they can build their resident development. And the Democrats are not telling you about that, because the affordable housing unit, the number can be small now, but once the developers build the resident development along Sylvan Avenue, our town is doomed. Our school will be, you know all the stories, our taxes will go up more than half, and our property value will be reduced. Why are the Democrats trying to settle with this kind of term? And Democrats are blaming mayor about the planning board initial rejection because of this mess. That is not true. As I said, I do real estate deals in Manhattan. If developers do not receive permits, then they revise the plan again and again and again to receive approvals. Here, they got rejected once and they converted the corporate development to residential development. That cannot be. They had no intention to build corporate development. And what you are not told about this settlement is overlay zones, which will ruin our town. And why are Democrats doing that? Why are they ruining our lives? Why are they ruining our assets? No one is settling a litigation right now because of market conditions. Nobody is lending. If we hold out, if we appeal, you know, the Judge Farrington made so many arbitrary decisions, which we will have a strong case at appeal. If we settle, we are stuck with those arbitrary decisions. And do you think it will stop here? We should not settle at all. And still, for other reasons that I cannot comprehend, the Democrats are trying to settle. That cannot be done. And we have told the Democrats many times throughout the time, you should not settle. And at first, they said they are not going to settle. They are trying to find out a plan B. That's not plan B. That's the only plan. So do you think our residents are stupid? Do you think we are just sitting there, just doing nothing? Residents, we need to get our power back. We have to get control over who can represent our interests. I don't care about Republicans either, because I'm a Democrat at federal level. But I am doing this recall effort because Democrats fail to represent our interests. And mayors and Republicans cannot do anything when Democrats control the council. They have stopped many times to make things better. Hire the best litigators out there in the litigation? No. Only these 3 attorneys who are not litigators. That's the fact that I do this litigation. I have no idea what a litigation is because I specialize in real estate, not anything else. And they are bringing back this negotiator out of lunch. No, we are going to stop this. We are in it together, and we are going to do this together. This time, because of COVID, we are going to collect recall petitions electronically, and we are going to distribute. That form is almost approved. You will hear from us within a week, and we are going to succeed. Last year, those 1,200 residents who signed own and Augusta petition, that effort was thwarted by our board club misconduct. Not this time. Residents, we are going to reach out to you, collect your signatures, and we have to show who is in control. Residents should have control over this process, not for Democrats who do not represent our council interest.
Ms. Lee, she never answered your question.
No, actually, I was
She
letting
never
her,
answered your question.
Mayor,
Yes.
I was waiting for her to finish. Okay? Mario, I really don't owe you any explanations. You know, people make mistakes, evidently. I made one over 30 years ago, which was not supposed to be a public record. I didn't hurt anybody. I've never done anything to hurt anybody in this town. I've served this town for 29 years, whether it was in the form of a council person, on the Board of Education, as a Girl Scout leader. And what you're going around telling people, and what you must really feel threatened that you felt it necessary to dredge up something from 30 years ago that really shouldn't be public. And I will look into why it is, but I'm going to own up to it. Yes, it did happen, and it was a mistake. And I'm sorry that you need, no, let me finish. I let you finish. Okay, this president obviously has been bamboozled by you into believing that we're doing this for corruption, okay? There is no corruption here. We are not benefiting from this. I live on Hollywood Avenue. It's in front of me. When I say that I think we should settle, it's because I believe that this is the best thing for this town. We'll know what we're getting. Now, you can shake your head. We'll know what we're getting, whereas we are going to get a minimum of 600 units if we can't find a way to settle. Now, as far as overlay zones, did you know that the 77 unit plan that the mayor and the planning board had overlaid our whole town? Did you know that? It's no different. We had a better overlaid plan back in July of 2019. It was better than the one that was attached to the 77 unit plan. Did any resident in this town have any idea we were going through this? No, it came up. They voted on a 77 unit plan. There was no transparency. Not one resident in this town, including myself.
That's not true.
Which is why, no, let me finish, Mayor.
Not true, but no, you can't be lying.
Let me finish, which is why it would not be possible for me to have said to the residents that I was going to support a plan that wasn't even public. How could I have possibly said that? What I said to the residents is that I would do everything in my power to try to convince Normandy to remain corporate. But I thought there was slim to no chance of that, and I would do everything in my power to minimize the impact on our town. I've lived here for 25 years. I don't need to be told, what's the best thing for this town. I'm trying to do the best. If the town doesn't like that, and you truly believe, and you really don't know what's going on because you're not on the inside, so you really can't possibly understand exactly how severe this is,
Well, you're excluded.
you have the right. You do have the right to recall me. And if that's what the residents want, then so be it. But remember, I was voted in with more votes than this mayor was voted in with. And it was because I had the experience and the knowledge to try to help minimize the impact on this town. And that's all I've ever done. And I take real offense to the type of nonsense that's going on around here, calling us all corrupt. I mean, you don't know me.
You're a convicted felon that did not disclose that to the residents who voted for you. So what does that make you right now?
Again, this was not supposed to be public. And it was 30.
Of course it wasn't. You didn't want it public, but it's publicly available.
In my young 20s, and I made a.
Yes, the resident has the floor.
That's it. I will not answer questions regarding that any longer tonight. So anybody else who has a question, don't expect an answer. I've given you a statement. That's what you're getting.
Okay, so if you had disclosed that, I know that people make mistakes, but there is a reason why there is a felony and there is a misdemeanor. And felony means it's a serious crime at whatever level. And I understand you made mistakes, but residents do not want.
I am not, again, I am not going to respond to you.
And if you, I know you said you are not going to answer the question tonight, but have you disclosed?
What's the question? I answered the question. I gave you a statement. That's what you're getting from me this evening.
Okay, so I say you are not going to answer, but if you had disclosed that.
I answered it very clearly.
Excuse me, I still have the floor.
Actually, I think you're.
Thank you, Ms. Chen. I think you've spoken for almost 18 minutes, so I think that's good. I finally got unmuted.
Go, she was interrupted. Go ahead, Teresa.
I'm at the meeting place. I'm going to finish with this statement. Residents, we are coming to get your signatures. And you heard from Councilwoman Sabari. If we want to recall her, and it's her own opinion what's the best interest of town is. We don't agree. A lot of residents show that we do not agree with her
Exactly.
opinion and the Democrat opinion, but they don't listen. And she said she was, people voted.
Again,
No,
that is my
they're
opinion.
not going to listen to us.
That is my opinion.
You're
And
going to represent the resident interest. So since you didn't do it and you didn't represent the resident interest, yes, we are going to recall you. And we are
I
going to call-
am representing the residents. You are so badly misinformed.
Our interest.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chen. That your time's up. Thank you very much. Mayor, you want to call on somebody else?
Anybody else wishing to be heard?
Motion to close?
No, there's a hand.
Oh.
Oh, there's a person here, actually. Go ahead.
Topic of affordable housing on the floor, or are we still on other matters?
It's anything you'd like to speak about, sir.
Thank you. My name is David Sacker. My family and I.
Hold on, somebody else has the floor, Mr. Sackler.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you wait a second? He's standing right here. Hold on.
First, a quick question regarding Fifth Street. Could someone please explain what is anticipated as to the improvements on Fifth Street? I've seen this resolution once before. I have no idea what the what are those improvements look like? How are they?
So I see the borough administrator is on, although her camera is off. It would be nice for you to put your camera on. I think she's in best position to answer your questions right now. But there's a state grant available to us to improve that street. Ms. Duffy, can you speak to that?
I did not hear a word that the resident asked for.
The resident was asking about the Fifth Street improvements, and if you could describe what they are.
Sure. Who is the resident, please?
Mr. Perino, can you speak louder though, because we can't hear you.
For the record, I need to know who it is. I couldn't hear.
It's Russell Perino.
Oh, okay.
We're having trouble hearing you, Ms. Duffy.
I'm sorry?
We're having trouble hearing you.
I'm having trouble hearing Mr. Perino. It's a grant that we put in for the paving of Fifth Street. It's an unpaved road. Last year, we put in a grant with the DOT, and we did receive money. I asked our borough engineer to please submit, well, I saw that other towns yearly put in a grant for the same project so they could max out the funds received. So I asked our borough engineer if we could put in another grant to receive additional funding for the same project. So this way, the impact on the borough and on the residents that live on Fifth Street is at a minimum. I'm hoping to receive some funding. Last year, we received a little bit over $200,000, and that will be put to good use when we pave and do the infrastructure on Fifth Street that's muchly needed.
Can you unmute Mr. Perino?
Where is Mr. Perino? Didn't you say he's at the meeting?
What's your phone number? Oh, you're on screen? Oh. I'm looking for you. Oh, I see you. Okay,
Thank you. Is that better?
much better. Thank
I'm
you.
actually going to stay away from the mic, I think.
Okay.
Okay. But my question, Lizette, was outside of paving, is anything else contemplated being done on Fifth Street in terms of stormwater management, sanitary sewers, curbs,
Absolutely.
et cetera?
Everything has to be done on Fifth Street.
I understand. If the grant is not awarded, what is the means of paying for that improvement?
The borough would have to bond for it.
Are we talking about the borough or as a special assessment?
Well, it would be both. I know there was already money set aside from the residents a few years ago. And if the governing body wishes to assess the residents that live in the area on Fifth Street, that's entirely up to them.
I had some experience with special assessments in other municipalities. And the way it typically works is if the improvement is only benefiting a number of residents or property owners, those folks are the ones that will pay through a special assessment in addition to the regular taxes, the costs of the improvements. If you're getting a grant for all of it, that's great. If you're not, I would suggest strongly that the governing body look at procedures in other communities so that the residents as a whole are not paying for improvements that benefit only a few.
Correct, but we're not there yet. I'd like to see how much money I can get from the state. This way, there's a less burden on the borough and on the residents.
That's fair enough. I just want to make it clear that that's policy, how it typically works, and make sure that you don't get too far ahead with this and we find out that the residents are paying the bill.
Karina, we're not even there yet.
That's fine. That's why I asked the question.
No, I'd like to get as much as possible now.
Okay, thank you. A couple other points. One is, I read papers filed by Mr. Mehta in Superior Court, and I took interest in some of the comments that were made in his filing. And this is with regard to conflicts of interest. And I'm going to speak to the conflicts of interest as they apply to our affordable housing. As a member of the planning board, I understand how conflicts of interest work. It's not just a council person's potential financial interest. It is also the appearance of potential impropriety by an elected official or as a planning board member, whichever board we're talking about. And I'm concerned, seriously concerned, about participation of two council persons since January of 2019. And those persons are Mr. Aversa, Councilperson Aversa, and Councilperson Sabari. I recall, I think it was on the reorganization meeting in January of 2019. I believe it was former Councilperson McMorrow who brought up the question of Ms. Sabari's potential conflict. And I have a very grave concern that potentially what we've spent in terms of money and time in the past year and 8 months could all be for naught and be undone by what should have been potentially a simple recusal by two members of the governing body who had not just a potential conflict, but I think an actual one. One, because of Councilperson Sabari being located within 200 feet of 800 Sylvan. And secondly, Councilperson Aversa's dental practice that's located within one of the overlay zones that he voted on back in January of 2019. So I'm sure that you have a difference of opinion, but I think that moving forward, you should be re-examining your positions and continuing in this matter. You both were appointed to a Mount Laurel subcommittee and maintain that position, even though you both own properties. And for Councilperson Aversa, I'm assuming that you have an ownership interest in your practice. I don't know that for a fact in your property. But if you do, you not only voted on a plan that impacted both of your properties, whether it positively or negatively, doesn't matter. But you continued on this Mount Laurel subcommittee and bound this community on some level with an MOU. And I know you say you didn't bind the community, but you did, because the actions of that subcommittee, in my mind, cost our immunity, and therefore now we're facing a builder's remedy lawsuit. I'll leave it at that, and I just want to make a public statement about a hearing that's going to commence on September 15th, so the residents are aware. The application by Enid Sylvan Avenue will be heard beginning September 15th of this year. So those residents who wish to participate and listen to those proceedings, they should stay tuned. We'll make sure that it's posted on the borough website as to the connectivity for that hearing. It's not so much a hearing, it's an application. The planning board will be participating in that application. We are not voting on it. It'll be a special hearing officer that will be making the decisions, but the planning board will be participating and questioning the witnesses and the applicant and the professionals to the best of our ability. One quick comment too, Councilperson Sabari's comments about the 77 unit plan and how that was inferior to what was put forth in the MOU that was approved by the subcommittee and not the governing body as a whole. Anyone who's been involved in this for as long as I have know that we're in a very different path now than we would have been if you had maintained your support, which you both voted for, Councilpersons Aversa and Sabari, of the 77 unit plan. And even if it was determined to be deficient in terms of the numbers, we would have had the right to cure any shortfall. You know it, I know it, the residents need to know about it. So we can't turn back the clock, but please don't deceive the residents in that 77 unit plan wasn't the right step to take at that time. Thank you.
Mr. Perino, thank you for chairing the planning board and doing a fine job in your leadership. We appreciate that. So next up is Mr. David Thacker, and then Angela Chang will follow. Go ahead, Mr. Thacker.
I appreciate the question, but Mr. Perino is very serious against Dr. Versa and Ms. Sabari. And before I speak, I think if they wish, they should have an opportunity to respond to the accusations of conflict of interest. So I'd be happy to yield the floor to them, and if they don't want to speak, then I'll speak.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to yield, but if Councilwoman Sabari or Councilman Aversa wish to speak, as they usually do, they just jump in and speak, but I'll invite you to do so now. Crickets. Okay, Mr. Thacker.
Okay, well then I'll move forward. My name is David Thacker. My family and I have lived at 12 Egan Place since 1970. And I love this town. I've served it as an elected member of the school board. And I want to make it clear that irrespective of political party, I respect the mayor. He has never treated me with anything but the utmost courtesy. But I do disagree strongly with his stance on opposing the opportunities for a settlement of the affordable housing litigation. It's a settlement which 90% of all the communities in New Jersey have already reached. And let me just take about 2 minutes to explain why.
Mr. Sacker?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Sacker.
Yes.
This is Councilwoman Sabari. I was muted, so I couldn't respond to you.
Oh, okay.
This is how these meetings go.
Suspend,
No one.
respond to the accusation of conflict of interest.
I'll let Debbie speak, but I was also muted, Mr. Sacker, so I'd also like to chime in after Debbie's done.
Go ahead, Councilman Aversa.
Okay,
Oh,
Mr.
Go ahead,
Sacker,
Deb.
we did get legal advice regarding the conflict of interest. I mean, when you think about it, everybody in this town is somewhat conflicted, right? Because everybody has a very strong opinion as to where they would like to see it. I'm sure that the people on the south side don't want high density residential housing by them. You know, most people would say I was conflicted if in fact I was opposing it being at 800 Sylvan, since that is right outside my front door. But in my opinion, we have to have high density residential housing because this is what the court has issued. We are mandated to provide it. This developer, you know, we're appealing it, but this developer has offered up his property. No other developer has lost to a town that's wanted to offer up their property for affordable housing. So I don't believe I'm conflicted. I think I'm doing what I'm doing because it's the best thing for this town. And yes, I live on Hollywood Avenue, and yes, I'm staying on Hollywood Avenue. So that's my opinion. I got legal advice. I'm not conflicted, and the judge doesn't think I'm conflicted because right now the courts have taken over. So it really doesn't matter what my opinion is at the moment.
So, Mr. Sacker, before the meetings, before you joined the meeting, I had some comments to make. And one of them would highlight that.
Well, Mario, may I speak? I had to ask to speak first.
Sure, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, let me just finish. Councilwoman Sabari, I've called you out on the 200-foot issue from day one, from January 2019. And you kept telling me that it's not a problem. Not a problem. But you also excluded me from a lot of communications and involvement with the council majority. So let me finish. And then I come across an email written by our own attorneys who are telling you that you are conflicted, in fact. And
that's not true.
And then publicly, though, you have them telling everybody that it's okay. So
that's not true. That's not true, Mayor. Our attorney did not say that.
Your credibility is not what you think it
Look,
is.
Mario, this is where you always go. May I just, let me answer Mr. Perino's accusation that I was conflicted. He's absolutely incorrect. My property was not even considered in the overlay zone that was approved by the court initially. What happened after that, after the court, I never voted on that. So I think Mr. Perino is just incorrect about that. East Palisade Avenue was originally in and then taken out. There was never a vote on that. So that's not true. So I was never conflicted. I don't know where he's getting that from. So thank you.
I just want to ask one question to Councilwoman Sabari. Ms. Sabari, you say that you're not conflicted because essentially everyone in town would be conflicted. That doesn't seem like a sound argument. The argument is clear. You're within 200 feet of the property.
Really,
is that
block from me? Okay, it's not.
I don't live within 200 feet of the property.
I think you're conflicted because I think you don't want the high density residential here, and you'd rather see it on the south side of town. So let's.
Ms. Sabari, I think you should stick to the rules of conflict, right? The conflict rule is if you live within 200 feet, you shouldn't be voting on the matter. It's as simple as that. So
that's as simple as that.
what exactly did the legal opinion say? It said that everyone in town is conflicted?
I'm going to let Mr. Sacker finish. He asked me a question as to how I felt. I gave him an answer, and so did Ed. So can we?
It's not about feelings, it's about law.
Yeah, well, it's about facts, and I gave you one, Mario, so let's move on.
Well, and we gave you another one. The number is 200. It's a fact. Councilwoman Sabari lives within 200 feet of that property.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sacker.
I don't, so let's move on. Let Mr. Sacker have the floor. It's his right to speak.
Okay, well, I just let the record note that neither one of you answered adequately. Mr. Sacker, go ahead, please.
I'm quite ready to explain.
Dr. Sacker.
Dr. Sacker, I'm sorry.
Dr. Sacker.
You're right. I didn't know that, sir.
I'm quite happy to explain my position, my unconflicted position
Thank you, Doctor.
in opposition to the mayor's opinion opposing a settlement of the housing litigation. As a physician and a scientific researcher for 50 years, I've tended to learn that the future tends to resemble the past. And the past, the history, the experience, the law, the precedent, common sense, all tell us, I believe, that pursuing this appeal is a lost cause. It's an exercise in futility, and it's a massive waste of millions of dollars in legal fees. Now, we've had several windows of opportunity to settle this litigation, and each time the town has chosen to spit in the eye of the court. What leads us to expect that continuing to spit in the eye of the court will lead to a more favorable outcome. I suggest, and it's just my opinion, that we stop our march like lemmings behind the mayor over the precipice that he's leading us on, and let's settle this thing and get it behind us, because that's the only path to the future. I know that many disagree with me and the mayor disagrees with me, but I felt obligated to state my opinion.
I appreciate that, and it was very respectfully done, Doctor. I really do appreciate that. Look, I think there's the lemmings are actually the other 300 towns in New Jersey who surrendered their democracies to fair share housing, which in my comments earlier, I mentioned was basically effectively the fourth branch of New Jersey government now. So what I'm actually fighting for is to preserve the skyline that is looking on screen, and not make it an extension of Fort Lee skyline. It's a fine town, Fort Lee, very nice, but it's what they wanted, and we don't want that. In 10 years, you will have that skyline if you don't fight right now, because you can never settle with these people. You can never get to an agreement. They just want more and more and more of your house value. So, mark my words. The reason why the judge doesn't have to deal with this is to make a mistake after mistake is because no one ever thought this issue was hard. There's no other mayor to push this issue the way I push it. I'll keep fighting, and the majority can do the same. Angela Cheng, please. Let me unmute you, sorry.
Hi, this is Angela Chen in 22 Sarah Hill Lane. So first of all, I want to address my opinion regarding the settlement. The gentleman previously has said that he thinks we should settle. Let me tell you what will happen if we settle. So Sabari mentioned that, you know, the 77 units, she made a comment that, you know, we're making the entire town an overlay zone, but she never tell you that that 77 unit plan never made the entire Sylvan Avenue an overlay zone. However, if we settle with 800 Sylvan, we're making the Sylvan Avenue an overlay zone. Do you know how these affordable housing units are calculated? It's going to be based on how much the vacant land is available in one town, and also how many the population is for that town. If the Sylvan Avenue is not an overlay zone, then the vacant land of this town is really, really little. Then our obligation will be significantly reduced. If we make Sylvan Avenue an overlay zone, then what will happen is that will significantly increase the available vacant land, and the calculation will increase. These are the tricks. And also what happened is that, you know, we settle with 800 Sylvan. How about the next door? 1000 Sylvan Avenue, that LG's old headquarters. It's already, I don't know whether it's true or it's already being sold to another developer. Do you think the developer would just hold on and developing it with using it to be a commercial while he sees the next door can build high density residential units and earn a lot of money? You think developers are stupid? Not any chance. If we settle with 800 Sylvan with fair share, then we're turning the entire Sylvan Avenue to become an overlay zone. In that case, our obligation is going to significantly increase. And in a couple of years, when in 2025, they will come back again and say, oh, hey, I want to reevaluate every town's obligation for affordable housing. At that time, we already built 800 Sylvan, we already built 1000 Sylvan. Then we will have additional affordable housing obligations. It's never going to be end. To tell you the truth, the Democrats' majority will never tell you accepting a settlement is not only accepting several hundred units, it's going to open a gate. It's going to be the worst scenario, as bad as we just accept the judge's ruling. That's why we need to appeal. I'll tell you that no other town, yes, there's so many towns have settled, but no other town accepts an RDP number as high as us, as percentage of the population. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. You know, I live in this town for 7 years. I moved to Engle Cliff in 2013. I've never been involved in any political matter in my entire life. I'm just a working mom. I have 2 kids. You know, I have so many things on my mind. I was never a Democrat or a Republican. Me, myself, I'm an immigrant. I just want to keep my head down doing my thing. I want to earn my living and feed my kids. That's everything I do. Until last year, I found out what is a scam. Seriously, you know, all these things behind the door, I can't believe this. That's why I came out. You know, we are a group of independent residents. We just want to work the benefit for the residents. There's no political interest in it. Me and a couple other residents, we initiated a recall petition against Sabari and Jimmy Song. The only reason that we want to achieve, sorry?
Go ahead.
We initiated a recall petition against the Bari and Jimmy Song. The only reason is that we feel that they are not representing our interests. The whole settlement deal, it's as bad as we just accept the ruling. So why do they force us to accept it? There's all sorts of different interests behind that, right? What a shame that, you know, they're blaming Mary Kranjak for everything. The Democrats had control over the town for 40 years. And before 2015, our town's affordable housing obligation was only 9 units. Shame on them that, you know, they don't have any kids in the school anymore. They all have, you know, the kids are all grown up. So now they can study our interests. A lot of times, you know, I just don't believe what they're saying. And, you know, I feel that all their interest involves is to push the residents to accept high density housing on 800 Sylvan. Can we overturn it? You know, there's a lot of things going on, right? So there's, you know, the federal level, you know, the HUD has made changes in affordable housing rules. And there's all sorts of things that we can do. And, you know, it's just not reasonable. It's not reasonable and not fair to rule a town with only 1,700 households, with this kind of small town, to push us to accept close to 400 of affordable housing units. Not mention, if you give that to the developer, they apply the 20% rule, they're going to build 2,000 units. Can you accept that? If that's not fair, why shouldn't we go to appeal the judge's decision? I just feel that, you know, even though they're talking about, oh, they don't have the interest behind that, they don't have conflict of interest. Do you believe that once they took the control, they immediately turned the decision that we built our own 77 units? That plan is going to satisfy the judge. And also, maybe there's deficiency, but as Ross Perino has pointed out, we have ways to amend that and to fix that by adding some other units. I just don't think, Sabari is pointing to, it's the South Cliff, it's North Cliff. It's never like that. If we build another 2,000 units in Ingle Cliffs, either you live, whatever you live in North Cliff or South Cliff, it's going to be disaster. It's going to be disaster for everybody. Trust me, don't accept settlement. It's the worst deal ever. And, for this reason, we're going to recall Sabari and Jimmy Stone because they're not representing our interests. For whoever is interested in participating this recall with us, we're going to reach out to you very soon. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Mr. Mikalos? Let me unmute you. Mr. Mikalos, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The one question I have, Dr. Sacker makes a very good point about looking at the past to see what happens in the future. And from what he says, it looks like we're spitting into the wind to try to appeal or fight this judge's decision. But my question is, does settlement mean either is there only one option to settle on the basis of high density housing, which I live in South Cliffs, so high density housing won't be next door to me, but I don't want to see the entire town change from the way it was when I moved here 36 years ago to a completely different town, which I would move out of. So my question to whoever knows, is settlement based on high density housing and nothing else, or is there another option, a more middle ground option that we could settle based on non-high density housing?
There's a group home concept and there's senior housing, but you don't get one for one on the units as a credit. Look, you have good points, but what these people want is your home value transferred from fair share housing to a developer and to the politicians that they support. I don't know if you call my comments at the opening of the meeting at 6:30, but essentially what they do is they try to make you settle and then they escalate. Judges start making crazy decisions and most towns succumb. However, if you don't succumb, you actually see a lot of bad judging out there right now. That is all appealable, in my view, all reversible. The whole thing should start over. I would not settle. And if you settle, by the way, people just want more. They just keep coming back for more. Yeah. That's how socialism works. And when it is backed by government, it works even better for them and worse for us. My comments from this evening will be made available to you. So have a look. I kind of walked through all this. I won't rehash it now.
Well, I would just like to state though, Mario, that the public needs to know that our affordable housing professionals have, since I was on the council, the minute I was appointed, have said to you that we should settle and that we had a very
Wait, Councilman Sabari, is that settle on the basis of high density housing?
That's settle on the sense of with the developer, because we can't.
So in other words, allow him to build.
Can't get herself to say what she actually did.
Would you like to hear my answer before you interrupt me?
Don't answer. The question was.
The problem is what the residents don't understand, Mario. What the residents don't understand is that the 800 Sylvan property is no longer part of the RDP. It's been moved into unmet need. And
I think I've heard my answer. Thank you. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, well, that's usually the way things go. When people don't like what they hear, They don't want to hear the answer. So
But
I'm
even
sorry
worse,
that it's not
even
what
worse.
you'd like to hear. But the truth is that we've been given professional advice that it is to this town's benefit to try to come up with a settlement that works for this town. And that's all we're trying to do.
It's even worse than that, Debbie, because when you became a councilman, I didn't agree with you. And the first thing you did was tell the lawyers to cut me out and cut Councilman Wu out.
That would not be true.
Councilman Farrow out.
That would not be true. And if you
That
look
is absolutely true.
closed
You
session,
lied for years. You didn't tell the public who you were, that you're a convicted felon, and now you're running our affordable housing. Terrible. And by the way,
you must be so
Now
threatened
that-
to try to dig up something.
I'm going to mute you because I'm speaking now. But our council majority and our lawyers
Mario,
basically say, look,
you need to
President Trump and
You need to
Secretary
stop
of Housing Urban Affairs, Ben Carson, came out with an executive order that would help us. They're like, well, that's not part of the New Jersey system. It's federal. Yes, exactly. It's federal. Go to federal court, assert my constitutional rights to due process.
And I think
No,
our attorneys did look into that and they did render an opinion
No,
to
they did not render an opinion. They had 3 weeks almost to do this, and you didn't let them do it.
What do you mean I didn't let them do it?
Look, we have other avenues. The problem is,
Okay,
and
you know what,
everyone
you're
should
right.
recognize
Let's,
this.
let's just open to the public because
Let
no
me
matter
just
what I,
finish. The problem here is that you're not going to find a law firm in New Jersey who could do this and go up against 40 years of nonsense. This is the problem because they all have influences or are influenced by the state government because they do work for the government in some capacity. It's unpopular. We should go outside of New Jersey and do this. Does anybody else have their hand up? Because I'm not seeing
you need
anyone.
to stop muting the council members when you don't want to hear what they have to say. That's not
No, you
acceptable.
can speak after me, but not while I'm
No,
speaking.
you basically cut me off. You need to stop that.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Mrs. O'Shea's got her hand up. I am going to unmute Mrs. O'Shea.
I had that little hand clapping down below, but I don't think you saw me. I have a couple of things I would like to say. When you were talking about the basketball court, I'm not familiar with the when the basketball court was built. I remember when it was built and it was a basketball court and then they were flooding it in the winter to make it an ice skating pond. But at the same time, in 1970, the council and Parisi Sr. was running as council. They were looking to get Greenacre funding to do the nature center, which ran from the basketball court up all the way up to the top of the hill to the cemetery. And they had it all drawn out with paths and benches and plantings and all this and that. And ultimately they turned it down because they didn't want to accept the Greenacre funds because then the property would be open to everyone, similar to what you said about the basketball court. Once you accept the county money, you cannot restrict the area just for your residents. But I don't recall that was the issue with the basketball court or with the playground on West Bayview Avenue. Following that same line of thinking, I saw on the agenda that you were looking to accept money for Johnson Avenue from something. And I was wondering, are we going to run into a problem with the Johnson Avenue field if you accept grant money from the county or anybody, that Johnson Avenue field now will be open to non-residents because that field already is overused. And if there was improvements to be done with that, I don't think we should be accepting money from outside, which would require us to have other people use the properties instead of our residents. So I don't know the answer to that part.
Ms. Duffy, have you looked into that?
Yes, and it would be the improvements to the field, which is the perimeter around the grass area. Yes, it would be open to anyone from the public. The open space that we would be creating, picnic areas, sitting areas. The mayor wanted a workout area. Yes, that would be open.
So by accepting that money, we're going to be opening ourselves up to non-residents coming in and using it?
Non-residents already utilize the park, the fields, and.
So, Lizette, I'm sorry, you apparently don't have your volume turned up. It's
I
very
actually
hard to
do.
hear you.
I have it up on 100.
Well,
Outside, non-residents do utilize our fields. They have Frisbee, football, not scheduled games, but they do use the open field inside and the playground.
well, I think that's just something that the council should consider before they accept any outside monies. The other thing, I saw the promotions for sergeants and lieutenants in the police department, and I understand the contract calls for promoting people when there's an opening within a certain time period and all that. I have said before, I really feel that you need to revisit your table of organization in the police department. I've said it for many, many years. It has no reflection on any of the candidates for promotion. I'm sure they're all very qualified and deserving of a promotion, but we're a small department and 26 or 27 people. And historically, since Mayor Parisi Jr. was on the council and in one of the table of organizations to an unreasonable amount, these positions have consistently been filled. And I think that we need more patrolmen instead of more white shirts going around as officers, although they might all be very qualified. I just feel that's a matter of opinion on my part. Also, in the censure document that was in Resolution 132, I saw issues regarding volume of work. And another thing that I have always repeatedly stated, I think each person should have one job responsibility. The borough clerk should be the borough clerk. There should be a borough administrator. There should be a administrative clerk. There should be a secretary for the Board of Health. There should be a records clerk. There should be a secretary for the police department. All these people trying to do double jobs, and then you say that people don't have time, especially when most of the positions are a 30-hour work week. You can't get 2 40-hour work week amount of work done that 2 people would do in 2 40-hour work schedules in 1 30-hour work week. And until you decide to have one job per one person and have a 40-hour work week or a 37.5-hour work week for each position, you are consistently going to have people, employees, complain that they can't do the work that's required of them. All right. Regarding the minutes, when I was on the council for 2.5 months at the end of 2018, after I was off the council, I put in an Oprah request for the closed session minutes that I was part of while I was on the council. When I got the request back, they were redacted, which I found incorrect because I was in the meeting. And even at that, they were wrong because one of them stated that I wasn't there and Carol McMorrow was there and she was off the council. Okay, so people that approve the minutes don't even read them and know who's there. All right, and 18 months down the road, you won't know where you were here or you were there or you weren't there. Okay, so I really think those should be done every month. The planning board secretary has very voluminous minutes from the meeting every month, and she gets the minutes to the board before the next month's meeting for review and corrections. And at least at that point, you know what happened. All right. The other thing I wanted to say was I wanted to ask Mrs. Sabari about your felony conviction. Are you allowed to run for government office as a felon in New Jersey? I don't know what the rules are. She's muted.
I don't think so.
Yes, I see a little cross off for her name.
Let me try to unmute her. I did not mute her, by the way.
Oh, maybe she muted herself.
She said she wasn't answering those questions.
No,
but,
this time the mayor didn't mute me because he actually wants to hear if I have anything to say.
I've been waiting on that.
Sure, like I said earlier, this is not something I believed was still of record. It was over 30 years ago. I didn't think that that was an issue. So it's not something that I've spoken about. And I'm sure if I'm not, we'll look into it, but I really don't know.
Well, I think it's not 30 years, Debbie. I think it's like 95 and this is 220. So it's like, 25 years ago, maybe. And you're on the council already 3 and you were on school board or something too. So I just wanted to know, I know people that are in jail can't vote. And I didn't know if you're a convicted felon, if you're allowed to run for public office. That's all. I don't know the rules.
Investigate it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, it's something that I'm not familiar with those rules because I've not been arrested or anything. So I don't know. And then Mr. Shacker says that he moved here in 1970. I would like to say that I grew up here. I'm 75 years old, so I'm here 75 years. My grandparents' house on 3rd Street, they moved here in 1924, and my mom and dad built the house on their property next door, 1960, and I bought my house in 1966. So I'm here. My family's been here going almost 100 years now, and I hate to see what's happening to this town. And I remember through the years, the property that the Parisis dedicated for affordable housing was moved repeatedly from one location to another. At one time, it was Marietta Street when that was vacant. At one time, it was Van Nostrand Avenue off of Hudson Terrace when that was vacant. It was the field belonging to Dwight Englewood School. It was the DPW garage. It was the tennis courts, multiple places, and the Sisters of St. Joseph of the Peace. And it was always a place where they knew it wouldn't be built, and they should have done it. They should have built the houses that were required, and we wouldn't be in this spot. And I'm really, really upset about it. I'm upset with the results, and I'm upset with the way the council majority has handled this. Really, really wrong. So I just, wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Wu, did you want to say something? Okay. I see Ryan Olivo has his hand raised. Let me unmute. I lost him. Mr. Olivo, I tried to let you in, but you just disappeared. Okay, who else has their hand? Oh, here is Mr. Olivo. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Olivo from 726 Floyd Avenue. I moved into Englewood Cliffs a couple months ago. First, I'd like to praise what Dr. Thatcher said. Just very well done, sir. I hope when the pandemic is over that we can invite you over for coffee one day. Now, look, everyone, I'm not someone who's able to say that I've lived here for decades, and that notwithstanding, I want to make it very clear to you all that even though I do have the ability to engage in this on the merits of technicalities of overlay zoning, state level preemption, other legal considerations, I won't. Why? Because when I hear this rhetoric from other residents on this call, catastrophizing the issue of affordable housing, comparing settlement to doom, and expressing fears of a changed town, it's clear to me it's not about economic issues at all. For how is appealing a settlement a fiscally responsible position when the taxpayer, all of us, are footing the bill in legal fees? It's not about property values and taxes. It's about people we're trying to keep out. This isn't about the mayor either. The mayor came into the picture after 40 years of Democratic control. It's all of you. I am so appalled because it's about racism. This mentality that all of you can say you've lived here for 40 years, 70 years, before going on a rant about a changed town, while you continue a legacy of exclusionary policy in the face of everything that's happening nationwide. Shame on you all. Dr. Satcher is correct on the grounds of common sense and precedent. This, appealing this lawsuit, appealing this settlement is going to lose, period. I am raising my voice, though, to bring in the moral lens, which astonishingly has been left out of the picture. Again, shame on you all. The basketball court issue, by the way, a different side of the same issue. It's not really complicated. Yes, I understand the concerns that we foot the bill and therefore we should feel, hey, shouldn't we have more access to it? Shouldn't we keep people out who don't pay for it? But the idea is we can use basketball courts in other towns as well. People can use libraries of other towns if they actually register for it, etc. There may be an issue of overuse, but that aside, and yes, the town can have reasonable policies to actually control how it's used, the time, have restrictions on it to make sure it's well kept, everyone's safe, sure. But this little debate about how to keep out non-residents, really? Are you going up to people and asking them for their addresses? Or could it be that their appearances somehow raise scrutiny on your part? I raised that question because I don't want anyone to forget here that even though we're in an enclave, a little bubble right here, there is a lot happening nationally that is relevant to what's happening in this town today. And I encourage all of you to take a look within and really think about these issues and how they apply to how you're treating this issue, which is about keeping people out. It's not about technicalities of property values or taxes. It's about keeping people out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Let me reiterate, everyone is welcome in Englewood Cliffs. If you're playing basketball, if you want to live here, everyone is welcome. Does anybody else have a hand raised?
That's definitely not what your speech said, Mario. I'll tell you that much.
No,
And
but
I told you how I felt about your speech. I disagree. And I know, thank goodness someone got up and spoke and said exactly what I said about your ignorant statements in the beginning, that you make our town look awful. And thank you, sir. We're not all like that. So I appreciate you getting up and speaking.
Mr. Aversa, now you're pandering, right? Because
it's okay, Mario. I'm pandering because somebody had a voice. Thank you.
Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Are you finished?
Hello?
Hold on. So let me just reiterate.
Hello?
The right to not be discriminated against doesn't mean the right to live wherever you want and other people have to pay for it. Okay, that's the distinction that New Jersey misses. Everyone is welcome here. Everyone. I don't care if you want to play basketball, if you want to live here, if you want to ride your bike through, you're all welcome. Everyone is welcome here. What I don't want to do is work my life and other people have to work and allocate their home values so a developer can make a fortune and cram in, destroy the environment. That makes no sense in a town like this. We don't have a lot of infrastructure here to support doubling our population.
Hello? Hello?
Hold on, I'm not done. Anybody else? Yes, I see a hand raised. Ms. Geiger.
You need to unmute her. Unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. First of all, on a separate subject other than affordable housing, I want to comment about the fence that has been erected around the police department. I have always been an advocate of the police department and have been very pleased by the level of community policing that our police department has always initiated and taken pride in. I think the construction of the fence around the police department sends the absolute wrong message to our community and to others about the strengths of our police department and their willingness to work with residents on all issues that present themselves. And I know that this was dealt with as an emergency. The fence is already up $28,000 has been spent, but it really was not an emergency. No one crashed the police department. No one raided it. There were no threats that I, as a resident, was aware of. And I think it was the wrong thing to do. That's one. Number two, about the affordable housing. I'm sorry, but I've listened for many, many meetings to very misinformed residents. The settlement, which I am in favor of, is the only thing that will stop the overlay zones from being built with throughout the town. 1000 Sylvan Avenue can be developed with high density housing if there is no settlement. The new owners, if they wish, if it is sold to someone, can come in with a builder's remedy suit, just like 800 Sylvan did, because until we have a settlement in place that's protective of the rest of the community, any property can be developed. So people should not look at a settlement agreement as something that will destroy our town, but rather something that will protect it in the years to come. That's the first thing. Number two, as far as Mario's threats about high density, high rise housing going throughout 9W and destroying our town, I take singular offense at that. I've worked too frequently with the many green groups who are protective of the Palisades. And if you hadn't already noticed, they have added themselves as a party of interest in this case. They reached a settlement with 800 Sylvan as far as the maximum height of that particular development. They are not going to sit by where they demonstrated their willingness to constrain the height of the LG development and let other developments destroy the Palisades. Number three, the federal regulations that the mayor speaks about. I read the president's executive order. I read all 65 pages of that order, and nowhere does it deal with a community such as our own. The only place that communities such as our own are dealt with are in the president's own press releases and not in the executive orders that are promulgated by his departments. The executive order dealt completely with those communities that receive federal aid for housing. We do not, and we have no reason to assume that we will in the future. The other item that I want to talk about is the 600 units. Ms. Chen spoke about 400 units. 400 units was the settlement. 600 units was the proposed MOU. 600 units is what was approved by the court for affordable housing for 800 Sylvan. A negotiated settlement, if we can achieve that, might reduce that number and make it more amenable to the height restrictions and the density restrictions of our community. I believe firmly that affordable housing has to be built in our community. We are putting our heads in the sand if we ignore our obligations. And I think that is fraught with peril. We have to do our share. I don't agree with the court that our share is 174 units on top of 800 Sylvan and the units that she authorized for that. But we have to build. And anyone who thought that 77 units was sufficient was wrong. And we have seen now the numbers grow to well over or approximately 300 units instead of the 95 units that existed in the MOU. So, and one other comment I want to make, and it's about what was not done by the administration, prior administrations, and even the current administration. At many public meetings that I attended, residents raised questions as to why repairs to the Lions Club was authorized and not stopped by this mayor and council. As you may recall, the Lions Club was one of the sites that was to be used to build the 9 units that were required under the early 2015 plan. That plan went to the court, and that was the subject of what we have now. And in final comment I want to make is, just like Mr. Mehta, I also have read all the unredacted minutes of the mayor and council meetings from January and February. And even though Mr. Wu says he voted that there were omissions and that the mayor's comments that he was against affordable housing were not sufficiently reiterated in those minutes, I will tell you that as far as I was concerned, the mayor did make his position clear that he did not want any residential housing on 800 Sylvan, and he said that repeatedly. That is in the minutes. What is also in the minutes is that as far back as February of 2019, this entire mayor and council, everyone who attended that meeting, which included all the members of the mayor and council, with the exception of Mr. Farrow, knew that an MOU was being negotiated, that our experts were negotiating it on behalf of the borough.
No, and I don't know why you're saying that, because you were in those meetings, but that's not true. That's not
and
you can lampoon
I have the floor now, not you.
right.
And if you choose to contradict,
If Ms. Sabari telling you that, then she's lying, and we know how her credibility is
you may
tonight.
do that. And please don't discuss Ms. Sabari. She answered, and she answered your comments, and that, as far as I'm concerned, closes the issue for now. Right now, we are dealing with affordable housing, and we are dealing with what happened in 2019, as those minutes clearly show, very, very clearly show. And anyone who says that the council did not know what was going on as far back as February of 2019 is lying.
Those minutes made public in the court, okay? Nobody has any information from me. Those minutes are in the court. Mehta already said he has that.
This is like the 1-2, right? Lizette writes it, and then you guys swear to it, right? Come on, stop playing games. And by the way, I thought for sure, Ms. Geiger, you and I would agree on at least one thing in 4.5 years, and that would be to create a safe space for our police officers, and a defined space. And I'm appalled that you don't think that they need to be safe.
I think that our police officers are perfectly capable of taking care of any problems that present themselves to our community, and don't need a fence to separate themselves from the residents in order to protect us and them.
Well, now you have it. Okay, so let me ask you a question, Ms. Geiger. You ran Councilwoman Sabari's campaign. Now, you knew about her felony conviction.
Campaign.
You either knew about her felony conviction,
That's
or you found out about it tonight and you're okay with it.
That desperate? Are you that desperate, Mayor? Are you that
reflecting?
You have nothing to run on.
I am helping your
Mario, have a little class, have a little decorum.
The issue at hand is not Ms. Sabari's background. The
She
issue
is
at
a
hand
convicted
is
felon,
your
and she never
failure,
disclosed that to
your
anybody.
failure to lead this town forward in 2020 into resolving the affordable housing crisis that we are facing. And it is because of your failures and your constant deflections and your constant finger pointing and calling out others that we are in the abysmal situation that we are in today.
Let me tell you something. I don't control this council or governing body, but not one shovel has gone into that ground yet.
What are you saying, sir?
Not one shovel has gone into that ground yet.
Yes, not one shovel has gone into the ground, and $3 million have been spent. And we have an affordable housing.
All the people whose campaigns you
that
run
grows
have
and
destroyed
grows and grows with no end in
You
sight.
are shameless.
Just lawyers
I
making.
can't wait to
Now
see
you're
your
attacking the residents.
newsletter.
You
I
need to
can't wait
stop.
to read about how you spin
Stop.
felony conviction by your candidate that she hid from us.
Oh my God.
Shame on you. And this is the woman running our
on you,
affordable
man.
housing.
Shame on you, because you know what? I am going to dig so far into your life,
You
and
can
I am
dig
going
as
to
much as you
expose
want, but
you for
that's
who
the
you
beauty
are.
of my life right now.
I did nothing.
Digging.
I did
You're not
nothing.
gonna find
You're making
anything but a
something out of
boring
nothing.
mayor.
You're making something out of nothing.
You pled guilty in the Southern District of New York to a felony.
I told you, I'm not discussing this with you anymore.
Okay, well, let's not discuss it right now then. Mrs. McMorrow, I see your hand up. Let me unmute you. Go ahead. Yeah. Hold on, Mrs. McMorrow, hold on one second. Mr. Wu wanted to just say something. Let me unmute Mr. Wu. Sorry, Councilman Wu. You should be unmuted now.
Yeah. On the agenda for tonight, there's a censure of the mayor and I. I've asked questions to the court. I've said to the court, and I want to ask my fellow council members, I want to take just a roll call. When did we authorize Mr. Al Wunsch to go negotiate a settlement with 800 Sylvan?
I
Was
think
that in closed session?
Public session right now, so it's open to the public. So why don't you readdress that question after we finish with the public?
Because that's the key question. Ms. Geiger pointed to that, right? So when was that? If there was a settlement going on, that wasn't in the minutes, but Al Wunsch was the negotiator in all of this. So when that didn't take place in a council vote, it didn't take place in the meeting, the closed session minutes that are now publicly available.
I believe there's only a few that are publicly available, so I don't know.
I'm referring exactly to those, the ones that are publicly available through February 13th.
Yeah, well, you know as well as I do, Billy, that you actually asked to be part of that committee. So
I was asked, and I suggested that Chairman Perino of the, I was asked, I acknowledge that. And that's in the censure.
And you declined.
My answer at that time was the chairman of the planning board, Russ Perino, and former council president, Carol McMorrow, have worked on this since 2016. And I said they're the most qualified people to continue working on affordable housing on behalf of the borough.
Okay, Billy, I'll review the minutes for you and I'll let you know exactly what had happened. But in the meantime, can we please open back up to the public?
I just wanted to address the residents' comments.
Thank you for doing that, Councilman Wu. If you're,
yeah, I'm finished.
Are you finished, Councilman Wu? Okay, thank you. Mrs. McMorrow, you have.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Carol McMorrow, 489 Summit Street. Is Mr. Benica still here, Mayor?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, hello, Mr. Benica. I'm going to have some questions for you in regards to what I'm reading on this agenda.
Mr. Marinello is here. You don't have to address him to Mr. Benica. His name is Bonica, by the way.
So are we getting billed by both of you right now?
Yeah, that's what I do, Mario. You look at my bills. You can see whether you're being billed by both of us. Look, why don't you look for the August minutes, my bill. You can look at it and see if we billed you for both.
Well, you joined the meeting and you didn't even identify yourself, so.
Neither did anyone else who joined the meeting.
No, but your attorney did.
Just let her ask her questions.
So I apologize for pronouncing your name wrong, Mr. Bonica, and yeah, I truly apologize. And I did not, Ms. Duffy only introduced you as being here, and I'm disappointed that Mr. Marinello did not let it be known that he was listening in and then just jump in for me. But I would be more than happy then to direct them to you, Mr. Marinello.
Go ahead.
Mr. Marinello, did you write this resolution number 20-132?
Well, that's actually between me and my client, but I will say the answer is no, but I did review it. And I did make changes to it.
Okay, since the taxpayers of Englewood Cliffs will be paying for any work that an attorney does, a resident has a right to ask who wrote the resolution. And since you chose to make yourself the spokesperson right now, who wrote this?
I didn't choose to make myself a spokesperson. You asked me a question.
Okay, but I meant, who wrote the resolution?
I don't know. You'll have to ask the council people.
Okay, Ms. Duffy, can you tell me who wrote this resolution?
I don't know who wrote it. It was provided to Mr. Dia.
Okay, so Ms. Duffy, who emailed you the resolution? Ms. Duffy?
I emailed it to her, Carol.
So then this is a simple question, guys. It's going to be on someone's bills. I'm sure that it's not going to miraculously not be paid for. Just let's not play games. Just tell me who wrote the resolution. This is a simple question. It shouldn't be, you know, 20 questions to get one answer. Just who wrote the resolution? It's a 5-page resolution.
I don't know what it matters. It doesn't make any difference.
I wrote the resolution, and what does it matter?
Okay, all right, Mr. Aversa wrote the resolution. Thank you, Councilman Aversa. Just asking who wrote the resolution. Okay.
Well, you were asking Mr. Marinello. I just figured, let me stop the nonsense and answer the question, so.
All right. Anyway, Mr. Aversa, then if you wrote the resolution, this is a very, as someone reading this from the public, this is obviously a very politically based resolution.
I find it factually based,
Okay,
actually.
right. Well, you know, and if I may just speak, I don't, you know, we don't need to, you can comment at the end.
Okay, don't ask me questions. I won't have to answer. Go ahead.
So as I stated, this is a very, in my opinion, very politically based resolution and a lot of defamatory statements. So if you're saying they're facts, the people that you're writing about, you would be defaming. And Mr. Aversa, I have some questions for you because I would like to know, and you're very defensive of the borough clerk in here, and I'd like to know why you never censured the borough clerk since she lost 13 lawsuits in the last year on Oprah, because you're referencing Oprah litigation in here. She lost 13 of them, which did cost the taxpayers a tremendous amount of money. So my question to you, Mr. Aversa, is why did you not censure the borough clerk after losing so many litigations? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't have an answer for you.
Why don't you turn your camera on, Ed, so we can see you?
That's okay.
So
I know you miss me, Mario, but that's okay.
No, actually, I don't know if we have a quorum from time to time because I
That's
can't.
okay, Mario. You keep using that excuse.
So basically, whatever happens at this meeting might not be valid.
Please let the residents speak.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate if I can just make some comments here. So Mr. Aversa, as I stated, Ms. Duffy lost 13 lawsuits. I've not seen it on any agenda as to how you are handling that yet, and I've not seen any censure against the borough clerk. I did see in the minutes that were disclosed and uploaded onto eCourts, made public, how Ms. Duffy wrote her own minutes for her own disciplinary action, which I was shocked at the content that was written in there. And there was one specific sentence that Ms. Duffy wrote where she stated, Ms. Duffy stated that if an invoice looks questionable, she has every right as borough administrator to look into it before it's paid. So I went back while everyone else was speaking and I pulled tape number 78. Tape number 78, Mr. Aversa, I'm sure you remember that. That is the tape where Ms. Duffy colluded with Chief Chaffee, yourself, and Councilwoman O to set me up. And I will quote Ms. Duffy when she wrote, when she stated, when Eddie was here, the bill happened to be on my desk and he saw it and said, what's this? I said, Ed, I don't know, I'm trying to find it. So what we have to do, so this is the borough administrator saying to the chief of police, so what we have to do, I have to get it on the October meeting. Gloria has to come in, sign the vouchers, and say, I want a copy of this. Bring it up at the October meeting. Mr. Aversa, do you think that that's proper protocol for a borough administrator to collude with the chief of police and 2 other council members, including yourself, to set up the then council president? Do you think that's proper behavior?
I don't know what you're speaking about, Carol, so I can't answer you.
You don't know. Well, you voted to dismiss her charges. You were involved in it, Ed.
I just want to add one clarification. I want to add one clarification, and it's important that I do this. The police chief that Mrs. Morrow is referring to, the former chief, Choff, not the current Chief Hankelman.
Fine. But I'm just saying, I see a lot of censures in here, but I don't see you censuring the borough clerk who, Mr. Aversa, you know you have a business relationship with and a conflict of interest, which you have repeatedly been voting on matters concerning her, okay? That's another thing. And the two borough attorneys are here. They have been made aware of it, and they have an obligation, if they hear any types of wrongdoing, to be looking into that as well, and not to be partisan and only looking into things that may further their own political party. That's number one. Number two, there was an article written for the Galloway Council where they voted to censure a council member that walked out of a meeting. So I'd like to ask the two borough attorneys that are sitting here who were present, well, Mr. Bonica wasn't present at maybe, well, I think you were present at one of them also, Mr. Bonica, where you had 4 council members walk out of 2 meetings. So why aren't they included in this censure as well? Because in Galloway Town Council, they voted to censure the individual that walked out of the meeting, saying it was an improper action. So again,
If you want the answer?
Yes, I would love the answer.
Okay, I don't know what happened in Galloway Township, so I can't speak to that. But I know what happened in this town. And in this town, the mayor, who has run amok with the Zoom, muted me when I tried to ask a question of the person who was,
right,
and then threw me out of the meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if that happened in Galloway Township.
Listen, I just asked about the 4 council.
You're out of that meeting because
I
you're
don't want to get
abusive.
into that back and forth.
I don't know what happened in Galloway Township. If one of these Republican council people wants to make a motion on that at the next meeting, they can go ahead and do it. My guess is it would probably not pass, but hell, they're welcome to do it.
Well, the point is, if there's improper behavior going on, it should be looked at all, right? I mean,
Then they can make a motion. Not everybody's responsible for making their own resolutions.
Hold on, let me just add one.
Hold on, if I may, I just need to finish. In my 6 years on council, I have never heard that, first of all, this is not written by Mr. Aversa. No disrespect, Mr. Aversa. An attorney wrote this. But I've never heard that we are allowed to expend funds and incur fees without first talking about it. So if you wanted to put it on the agenda to discuss the possibility of having a censure against the mayor or councilman, it's within your right to put it on the agenda and speak about it. But to just come like this and write this 5-page politically based, clearly filled with what I believe to be a lot of falsities.
Mrs. McMorrow, with all due, I understand.
No.
I understand what you're saying.
Mr. Marinello, please let me finish. Please let me finish. Thank you. So, because now when you do that, it just breaks someone's train of thought, and I don't find that helpful at all.
I'm muted.
Okay, so in doing that, it just, I don't know, Mayor, if it comes back to me what I was saying, I'll come back again. What I wanted to touch on next was the also false statements that were made by Councilwoman Sabari and Councilman Aversa, and also Ms. Geiger. Now, I don't know if Ms. Geiger is getting wrong information from Councilman Sabari. I don't have any idea, but I have to address this as somebody who was the COA liaison for 3 years. I am very concerned by the minutes that were uploaded, the content of the minutes that was uploaded due to my litigation asking for closed session minutes. And shame on the borough clerk for waiting 18 months. This is the 2nd time she's been sued asking for minutes. Okay, and in fact, I think she was sued by John Paff once before. So shame on the council for not holding her accountable to doing her job and fulfilling her responsibilities. She's getting paid a lot of taxpayer money. That being said, in the October 10th meeting of 2019, Mr. Serenian, and I'm not going to quote what he wrote because it's now been redacted. I'm going to respect the fact that the attorney recognizes that a mistake was made and he asked for it to be redacted, and I consented to that with my lawyer. But for those that read it, they know what it says. And there's something in there that was told by Mr. Serenian to all of you of what you needed to do. Now, that was January 10th, 2019. I already know what the answer is as to what he directed to you to do. You didn't do it. And Ed and Gloria knows what it was because they were in the room with me back in 2018 and 17. End of 17 and throughout all of 18, when he also told us to do it, and we were working on it, and they are aware of it. So for them to sit here and lie right now, and see, that's what troubles me with the residents that don't know what's going on, like the gentleman on Floyd Street. This has nothing to do with not being inclusionary. It has to do, of course, we are inclusionary and want to fulfill our affordable housing obligations, but you have to do it. You have to fulfill it. And the council that took over in 2019 dropped the ball. And their own minutes from the January 10th meeting substantiates that. It confirms it. So what I can't understand is how long is this charade gonna go on trying to deceive these residents that clearly see right through you? Councilman Aversa, you stated that you did not vote on a 77-unit plan. You did. It was resolution 19-.
I never said that.
You just.
No, I said I never voted on an overlay plan for East Palisade Avenue.
You did, Councilman Aversa. You did.
No.
You did.
Yeah, I have to disagree with you, but
Ed, I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I'm going to tell you, I did not even put the connection together with your property on Palisade Avenue until it was brought up after the fact that I was off the council. You never recused from those discussions. You were in the room with us, and shame on you. You should have said and walked out of the room. Big deal. You had a conflict. Walk out. But own up to it. You made a mistake, and just say, but don't tell me you weren't in the room when we talked about it, because you were. Okay?
I didn't say that. What I said is East Palisade Avenue was not on that.
Yes, it was, Ed.
Plan.
It was one of the three. It was one of the three overlay zones. And Councilwoman Sabari is sitting there lying, stating that the entire town was an overlay zone. Miss Sabari, you do not have a clue of what you are talking about. You are making things up as you are going along. And if you would have had the decency to include Chairman Perino and myself, I can guarantee you, you would not be in the abysmal state that you are in right now. This is because you took over, you thought you knew everything, and you made tremendous mistakes. And the entire town is paying for your mistakes, okay? Not because we don't want to fulfill it. We want to fulfill it, but you did not follow the proper procedures and do the work that needed to be done. And anytime you want to have this conversation in public and we are allowed to speak everything, I will go and have that conversation with you publicly when we are able to, because I know the facts better than you do, because I passed the baton over to you and you dropped it, Debbie. You dropped it.
Carol, that is the biggest crock of manure.
No, it's not. And Mr. Serenian knows the truth, and he knows the truth.
That's what you do. You wave accusations to the rest.
I'm not waving anything. I sat in that room. I sat in that room.
Shame on you. Things changed from the time you sat in that room.
Because you started a settlement on January 10th, Ms. Barry. That's what you did.
When did you go out to the public? When did you go out to the public? Talk about transparency.
Don't deflect. That has nothing to do with
knew we were having a problem.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Right?
You don't know what you're talking about.
Because you didn't do your job. I've got the minutes.
You started settlements on things that you had no right to, and you
see what you're talking about. You have no idea.
Okay, let the resident finish.
No, he's making accusations.
I'm not making accusations. I'm making statements, Ms. Sabari. And what concerns me, Mayor, is Mayor, I have never seen copies.
Statement that's incorrect.
Mayor, I have never seen copies of the closed session minutes that I took part in. And I would like to know what my rights are since I was involved in those conversations in closed session having to do with affordable housing, and I have no idea if Ms. Duffy is misrepresenting the facts that took place while I was in that room. And I do not want that to take place. And I can tell you right now, from what I'm seeing from some of these things that are being written here, I have serious concerns about what is true and what is not true, okay?
Please stop creating false narratives.
I'm not creating any false narratives at all, okay?
Go through the town again.
You did it with the October minutes, Lizette, in 2018. Everybody was there. It's on video. You lied about the minutes and you created false minutes.
You know what?
Yes,
You
you
create
did.
false narratives for
Please
everyone.
don't fight with the
Ms.
residents.
O'Shea was there, Mayor Kranjak was there, Councilman Wu was there. Everybody was there, and they know that you created a false narrative about the October minutes, and you did it for a reason. We're not going to rehash why.
That's your
Done it
opinion.
before.
Once again, you throw out little pieces, no facts, just feelings.
No, I'm saying Mr. Serenian will not lie and not tell the truth.
Okay,
No,
Mr. Serenian has made it very clear. I have all his correspondence. I know exactly what happened before.
because there are reasons why, and I'm not going to say why, because it would hurt the borough right now. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the political gaming that you want, okay?
No,
And the
you know,
last thing I will
that's
say
what
for Ms.
you-
Geiger is, the reason that scenic groups probably just entered an appearance is because I just wrote to Mr. Serenian in my position as former council president and COA liaison to remind him of the agreement that was entered into, okay, so that nobody dropped the ball, Ms. Geiger. That's why it happened. I didn't see
No,
anybody
that's
on the
not
council.
why.
Yes,
That's
it is.
not why.
Yes, it is. So
No, it's not.
it absolutely
Keep
is.
patting yourself on the back, Carol.
No, I don't have to pat myself in the back. What I won't sit back and see is to create a false narrative for these residents who are innocently sitting by and being told mistruths. Not going to happen. And by the way, Debbie, we have a criminal background check policy that Lizette is aware of. And if you are, I don't know whether you are a convicted felon or not, but if you,
It's not my personality, and I'm not going to do it.
if you are a convicted felon, you had a right to disclose that to the public before they voted for you and let everyone know what you were convicted of.
Thank you, Mrs. McMorro. It's been more than enough time. Thank you.
Since 2017.
Mrs. McMorro, are you finished?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mrs. McMorro, are you finished?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Mayor.
And by the way, with a conviction, I want to make sure that you're allowed to be signing checks and documents for this borough. I'm very suspect of that. Now, the issue of censure also came up, and you know, censure is a political tool used by losers, will never be yours. Ever, you fit that so well. Congratulations. Also, it's clear that your censure is all about retaliation. Okay, you're retaliating because we asked for investigation of you and Debbie and Jimmy and Gloria. Why? Well, because you guys found out, and I want an investigation. And in my investigation,
Are we done with the public portion? So I make a motion to close to the public?
and as a convicted felon, I'm not comfortable serving on the governing body. Okay? By the way, you know, you should be arguing censoring William either. It's the same thing. You're just doing it to retaliate because you lost an election by a landslide.
Okay, enough already. Can we please?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of questions on the censure itself. You know, I had a look. You know, I didn't get this censure till today.
Can we make a motion to close to the public and then continue with borough business, please?
No, Mr. Wu's got the floor.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't mute me, Mario.
Not interrupting.
Don't mute me, Mario.
it says in the censure, I just want to
Wait a
quickly,
second. The public has a right to speak now. It's open public session. This is not time for Billy Wu.
Has a right to speak.
So look, why don't we close to the public, Mario, like we're supposed to, and then we can let Councilman Wu
No,
speak.
because this came up right now, and it should be addressed because we're going to lose a lot of people in a few minutes.
I'll make a motion to close to the public so we can move forward.
no, let me finish. I think the resident asked the question earlier. Clearly, Mr. Aversa, I don't think you wrote this. This was clearly written by
Well,
a lawyer.
okay, Billy, but that's your opinion.
And just the way it's written, just for the public, everyone here can read English. For it to be written saying that Councilman Wu, with the mayor's blessing and cajoling, attempted to introduce 2 resolutions. I introduced 2 resolutions. It didn't require any adjectives describing the mayor's cajoling. That was not how it happened.
Happening now.
So
What does
let
that
me
gotta
ask
do
you a
with it?
question, just relative to what
Why
I'm
are you
being,
doing
what
this?
relative to what I'm being censured for.
We'll allow
un-
you to speak. You can speak to the resident about your censure. Let's just close to the public so that we could move on and you can give your speech.
Let William speak and
I
stop
wanna just
interrupting
check.
him, Councilwoman
So the
Sabari.
first line is, I undermined the borough's affordable housing case. So
Absolutely.
I question what that means, just because I have a difference in opinion about 800 Sylvan building residential, or because that we should have made all efforts to work on our own project.
No, that's your spin
or-
on it, Billy. But
no,
obviously
but what
the real
does it
reason
mean?
is you
Undermining,
went
I
and
mean, you
sent
could,
letters to
when
the
you say there's no
opposition
facts,
without
when you
even
say
talking
there's-
to anybody.
when you say there's no facts, just writing that I undermined it, I'm not quite clear what you mean there.
Well, that's
Attempting to
probably
interfere-
part of the problem, right? You didn't even know you did wrong.
No. I had my own opinion. I maintain my opinion. It's been consistent since last year. I haven't changed.
No, so that's okay. You're entitled to that. What you can't
Okay.
do, though, is send letters on behalf of the town saying that you want to talk to the
Okay, so
opposition's attorneys.
what do I do as an official when I've asked our own lawyers that are supposedly representing me? I asked them for an email multiple times. I asked you as well last Thursday on the 20th. I said, I still haven't gotten that email with the purported settlement that the judge references in one of her rulings. I've asked for this for months now, and I still haven't gotten it. So where do I go?
There is.
Where do I go other than to communicate that with the judge? I have nowhere to go. I come to the public meetings, I speak what I speak and I say it, but it doesn't go anywhere. So I have to let the judge know. Simple as that. That's my reason.
No, well, that's your simple answer, but that's not correct, Billy, and you know it.
Why is that not correct?
Because you should have gone to our attorneys, all of them.
I did go to our attorneys. I did write an email. I copied our borough administrator on it.
And just because your opinion is not the council majority.
Why don't I get a reply back from our own attorneys on
You
really
have to ask
important
them.
questions?
Like you get all the information you need from our attorney.
Stop spinning it, Jebby. Stop spinning it. Why don't I asked for this multiple times. You guys are copied on the emails. Okay?
I know, Billy, you don't get you get everything I get, so I don't know what you're talking about. You could spin it all you want about. You don't get information, just like Mario. You whine about it, but you
I'm
get
not
the
spinning.
same
I'm
stuff we
actually
do.
asking for something very important.
And all I'm telling you is you get what I get.
Which is
So
when
I
the
don't know what you're
settlement
asking for.
settlement got restarted, there was an email which included the offer. I wanted to see that email.
You got
No,
that.
no, I did not get that, Debbie.
Yes,
Please
you
show it
did.
to me if
You
I
had a
did.
discussion in
Please
closed
show it
session.
to me if I did.
You got that.
Okay? I did not get that.
You got everything that I got. That's all I know.
Your statement is laughable. You get what we get is not true. You don't ask for things and you don't get them. We ask for things.
So why don't we let the public continue to speak instead of arguing like children?
That's okay. I'm done.
Thank
I
you.
never got
Thank
that
you,
email.
Billy.
Simple as that. It was a very important email. If you have it, Councilman Sabari, please forward it to me. I'll ask you next.
You have it.
The censure.
No, why don't you forward it to me right now?
I will. You have it, but I will forward it to you. You have it.
Okay. No, I don't have it. Stop trying to create a narrative in front of the
got
public.
it the same
There's
time.
no need.
I
This
got
theater
it.
has to
I
stop.
don't have it. Why don't you send it to
Mario?
me?
Really?
Send it over.
Billy, you're talking about theater? Are you kidding? You
Send it over right
have
now.
us investigated. Are you for
Send
real?
it over right now.
Are you for real?
I'd just like to add that Councilman Wu today filed something in another case unauthorized by the borough once again.
It's fine.
There you go, Billy. Way to go.
Billy.
You know what?
You know what?
Samariano, you don't show up on
agree
here.
with the
You don't
council majority. You don't
Yeah,
get
I'm
to
still
vote
here.
on your own. You don't get to do that. That's not how it works.
When the attorneys are not working, when the
No,
attorneys
that's
are
what
not
you think.
working for all of the mayor and council, this is my
your
only option.
And that's a lie.
As much as you don't like to hear that, that's my only option.
Look, this is
Yeah.
something
Okay,
you
Bill.
created, Mrs. Sabari and Ed, Gloria, and Jimmy. You cut us out, and you thought you'd have this thing wrapped up by now. But
Yeah, it's okay. And you have people actually believe in that too, Mario.
Okay. So look, again, your censure is a political
It's okay.
retribution.
Our council.
It's okay. It's an,
Our council.
Your censure is a political retribution brought by a loser, will never be a winner. All right, I think I hand up. I'm sorry. I can't see this name. I see, who's this? Miss.
Okay, been muted again. This is really getting
you
ridiculous.
did it to me too, Mario. Way to go.
Mayor, if I may, please stop muting.
You're interrupting. Look at the rules. No interruption. Put your cameras on. People want to see you.
Stop muting the
Oh,
borough.
stop muting.
Mr. Katrubis,
You're being ridiculous. Let's continue. The residents.
Jesus Christ. Shouldn't you be?
Mr. Katrubis?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Tim Katrubis, 54 Hickory Street. I also thank you, Mr. Wu, by the way, for submitting those documents. In all fairness to the residents who are here for the first time, it's the only way to provide any sort of transparency and for the public to actually know what's going on. With that being said, I have seen this resolution to censor the mayor. And I believe as well that it is a highly politically charged document. In order to try to get it released to the press, I'm sure the press is on tonight, and I implore them to, if you're going to put this in the press, I hope you do something about Ms. Sabari's conviction, and I also hope you do something about these recalls against the council members that they were speaking about today, against Councilman Song and Councilman Sabari. I take great offense. Mr. Aversa said that he wrote this document. Well, maybe there's a conflict of interest here. I'm not sure yet, but I take great offense to him saying that this is one of the line items was that it was a political ploy by the mayor and that I had helped him. Nothing could be further from the truth. And if you want to ask somebody about who Tim Katrubis is, Mr. Aversa, go ask Mayor Parisi himself, because after I had moved into town 10 years ago, Mayor Parisi was gracious enough to call me and welcome me to town. And just after he had welcomed me into town, he said, you know, would you mind putting up a political sign on your lawn, right, for the Democratic Party for that year's election? And I kindly declined. And I said, you know, Mr. Mayor Parisi, thank you very much. And I appreciate what you've done, but there's no way, I do not fly political signs on my lawn. Okay. To this day, I have never flown a political sign on my lawn. So it's highly offensive that you say things like that about me. I am a simple man who is honest and hardworking. I've never taken any political interest in this town. I have spent, just like Mr. Wu, I had nowhere to go. I was forced with this recall. And it's offensive to me when I have spent thousands of hours, okay, thousands of hours, Mr. Aversa, to analyze this brief. I would love to have the opportunity for all of us to get deposed. And I sincerely, I have one question for Mr. Marianello, who I hope just answers this question as soon as I'm done speaking. But my question to him is, he never opined on whether there was a conflict of interest for this investigation to go forward with against the Democratic Council. That's one question. I also want to let the public know that they should take careful, they should look very carefully on who the players are. Okay, you have a Karen Geiger who always speaks eloquently, and God bless her. But the truth of the matter is she's only giving you half truths. She's only telling you what you want to hear. You know, I have several pinpointed questions for Ms. Geiger. Who pays for your newsletter that goes out for $1,000, $2,000 a pop? Okay, are you so generous to pay for it out of your own pocket? Where did you get the terms of the settlement of the MOU? I would love to see that MOU. Everybody keeps saying that that MOU is so great for us, but show it to me. Don't give me, Ms. Sabari, with all due respect, but you are the person that has a history of being dishonest. It seems like you've been convicted of some sort of felony. I would like to see that MOU. Just show it to me. Let the people decide what that MOU is before you just say, take my word for it. I am as honest as they can. Last thing I want to say before I want to have Mr. Marianello answer my question, please. The public needs to understand. Miss Geiger has been living in town for 40 years, okay? She's been on the Board of Ed. She is partners with Deborah Tabari, and they co-wrote the Eye on the Cliffs newsletter. They go around and they tell you exactly what they want. And in the end, the Democratic Party here in town is a political machine that's funded from somewhere. And I suspect where it's being funded from. The Democratic, I was never a Republican, okay? I have always been an independent. I was forced into my position. I was forced into this position as a resident who cares about his community. So you can do whatever it is that you like to look into my background, but in the end, you will find nothing more than I am a person who has worked very hard for the community, and I don't believe anything that comes out of your mouth, and I think that there should be a lot more transparency. And it really is shameful that we have had to spend, that I'm up right now till 11:15 at night, so are the rest of the residents, when we were trying to ask very pinpointed questions to every single one of you for pulling a disappearing act on us for whatever reasons. I'm sure that they're nothing more than they're politically charged. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to Mr. Marianello's answer to my question about the opining on the resolution to have an investigation against the Democratic council members and their activities into affordable housing.
Mayor, Mr. Marinello can't respond. You have him muted.
No, he's not muted. He muted himself. Go up, unmute him, please.
I'm unable to unmute him.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Yes.
Your
There's a
Highness?
question pending, Marinello.
Oh, okay. Now I guess it's okay for me to speak now.
There's a question pending directed at you.
The question was, what was my advice on the investigation resolution? Is that what it was?
On the conflict of interest.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up that resolution, because I've heard a lot of people tonight talk about the politics of this censure vote. And it's amazing that the same people who could say that don't see right through the ridiculous resolution that was proffered a few meetings ago. But the fact of the matter is, had I been given the opportunity last meeting to give my advice on that, I would have. But instead, I was thrown out of the meeting when I was about to give it. It's actually disgraceful. And I've never seen this anywhere else but in this town. It's ridiculous what people have to deal with you, Mr. Mayor. You're an absolute bully.
You know what? You're being
No, you're an absolute bully.
You don't represent me. You will leave the meeting just the way you left last meeting.
You're right.
The only people you let
Englewood Cliffs. That's what I represent.
with whatever you say.
The same thing, the same complaints Mr. Wu has. I represent the full council. That's what I represent. I don't represent him. I don't represent you, Mr. Mayor. I don't represent Mr. Aversa.
You can keep saying all you want, but at the end of the day,
I can't hear you. Get better internet, Mayor. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Mayor. Get better internet.
All right, you done?
I can't hear you, Mr. Mayor.
That is your.
I think I've given enough information.
I have a question for Councilman Wu.
Wait, what was the answer?
The answer is that he's going to say he represents us, but he does cut us out of all affordable.
Nobody can hear you, Mayor.
He's exited us, and you know he'll be reckoned.
Nobody can hear you,
The question was it a conflict of interest for the other 4 council members to vote on the investigation?
Well, that's in the courts right now. So it really doesn't matter what Mr. Marinello's opinion is, because the judge is going to decide that. I forget the date, maybe it's September 23rd or September 25th, whatever date it is that they've placed that. But obviously, it's being worked on and the judge will decide.
So does he want to give an answer on that or not?
I wanted to give one last month.
Okay, we really have to, guys, we have to move this on. I mean.
Oh, Mr. Marinello wanted to give one last month, but won't tell us what it was because he was too busy arguing with me.
I think we'll let the court decide it, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, you're gonna lose that one too. Just like you did all the other ones.
Yeah. You haven't won one yet, Mayor.
I wanted to ask Councilman Wu a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman, you said you copied me on an email to Mr. Wunsch requesting for an email. When was that?
July 13th.
Okay, could you check that email? You have Mr. Wunsch's email incorrect. So that means that when you would have sent it to that email address, it would have bounced back. Mr. Wunsch did not receive that email on July 13th.
I let Mr. Wunsch know after that as well in the council meeting after that. So he's well aware of the question. Let's not dodge the fact that.
So did you
know
resend
it's
it
that.
to the appropriate address?
You kept referencing that you sent an email to Mr. Wunsch that I was copied on, and I just looked for it, and yes, it's incorrect. The email address is incorrect. So Mr. Wunsch would not have received that email.
What email address are you saying is incorrect?
The one that you sent it to,
Yeah, what is that email address? Can you read it to me?
a.wunsch@englewoodcliffsnj.org.
Okay, guys, can we,
I see, I move on, Mr. Wunsch?
I'm going to follow up on this. I'll follow up on this, Lizette, but I still like.
No, absolutely. If you're entitled to it, absolutely get it.
No.
I'm just saying, you referenced me here,
What
I
Mr.
got a
Marinello's
copy of
answer is on
something
the conflict of interest.
and I'm just letting you know that the address was incorrect. And also, I see that our borough attorney disappeared.
No,
So,
he's there.
where?
He's there. I see, Mr. Dunnick Stone. Dunnick Stone. Mr. Stone has it.
is there anybody who hasn't spoken from the public, Mayor?
Yeah,
that
Mr. Stone.
Is our borough attorney still on, or did you kick him off? Matt?
We actually have both of you. That's how bad you guys need attorneys.
Did you kick him off, is what I'm asking you.
No, he's here. Jason is here. And so is, what's his name? Marinello.
I can't unmute him.
You have the floor, sir. You have the floor, sir.
I was kicked out and now I keep getting muted.
Mario, cut it out, come on.
Mr. Stone, your
Raise
hand
it
is
up, let's
raised.
go.
Okay.
I guess he's left. Only speak once, and Mr. Bay has his hand raised. Mr. Bay?
Yes, hi. James Miles Bay, 14 Churchill Road. I'd like to just cover two things. The first subject is there was a gentleman before talking about the basketball court and high density sort of housing, and sort of was somewhat offended that thinking that the town was sort of was anti sort of, but there was a certain level of sense of, I guess, racism built into this town. I totally disagree. I think this town is very diverse sort of town. And to speak on the basketball court, I've raised two children in this town. The oldest one is in college. The youngest one is in high school. And the thing is, when the kids play on basketball court, as well as use the baseball equipment, sometimes out-of-towners, call it grown men, say in the late 20s, early 30s, etc. They come into the Johnson Fields and they use the equipment. And, when they should not be actually using them, as in they should be accompanied by the town residents or what have you. So there were several instances when I used to coach Little League, etc., that people from out of town basically using the equipment and the spaces, and the kids were getting scared because they'll be playing ball, and all of a sudden like 20 people show up, like grown men show up, and they just basically take the field, right? So I think it's more about the safety of our town folks rather than anything else. So we obviously pay for the maintenance and everything else, but I don't think it's about racism or the town being against other people coming into our town. I think it's more about safety of the people of the town. On the subject of the affordable housing units, I think I am still of the same view that majority of our town residents are in favor of us, the town, meeting the quota of the residents, the affordable housing. I believe that number was somewhere in the 70s. All of a sudden, it sort of went through some iterations, and I know there are stories being told from both ends, and we're currently sitting on a partial ruling from a judge that's quite unreasonable, which I believe majority of residents strongly believe that can be basically appealed once the final ruling is given. Town residents are not stupid. We know the risk of not settling and trying to continue to fight this thing. But people keep talking about the legal expenses and everything else. Just think about high density affordable housing, right? Or affordable housing being met through high density housing. The legal fees you're talking about it's going to be like nothing compared to the cost that the town has to incur to support the infrastructure, the schools, the policing, everything else. So I totally think that we should, if you need to take a vote of the residents, I would love to see that. To see, just to confirm that majority of the residents here is not in favor of settling, but continue to sort of basically appeal the case. Because once the final ruling is given, it's going to be so unreasonable. We're going to be able to sort of fight it. I have no doubt that we're going to be in a better position than what the judge said, whatever the settlement that you guys are trying to push. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. If you've already spoken, the rules are you can't speak again, unfortunately, but I will keep to the Robert's rules. So with that, I'd like to have a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One opposed? Okay, next on our agenda are the payment of claims. And this is for the period July 9th, 2020 through August 12th, 2020. It's resolution 20-118. The total being requested $3,611,178.60. There's a breakdown on the agenda between current fund, capital, animal control, affordable housing, and escrow. I oppose any payments being made to the law firms of Marinello, Serenian, Troutner, and Wunsch.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Councilperson
Have a roll call.
Councilperson Sparrow?
No on affordable housing, yes on everything else.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No on affordable housing, yes on everything else.
Thank you.
Vacation area, it was no on affordable housing, yes on everything else.
Councilwoman Sabari?
Yes.
Councilwoman O?
Yes.
Councilperson Song,
Yes.
Councilman Aversa,
Yes.
Councilman Wu.
No.
Okay, Mayor, it passes.
Point of order, Mayor?
Yes.
I want to make a motion to amend the agenda to move Resolution 132 up to the top of the list. I need a second.
Second.
I don't think you could do that. Are you?
Yes, I can. I just did, Mario. No, I just
All
made
right,
that
so
amendment.
resolution 2020-119.
No, Mario, there's a motion and a
Police
second
officer.
on the floor to amend the agenda to move 132
No,
to
but
the
you
top.
can't.
Yeah, yes, I can do
We
that,
have
Mario.
to.
Yes, I can do that. Robert's Rules of Order say I can do that.
I don't think you can. Special meeting is set.
Clerk, can you take a roll call, please?
This can certainly be done.
Let's get our attorney to.
And 132 is your censure, your like crybaby resolution censuring the mayor.
You can move that up, Mr.
Go ahead,
Mayor.
like
It's
I
allowed to
said,
be moved up.
You're a loser. You always be a loser.
And you're such a gracious winner, Mario.
Man, you are such a friggin' baby, Mayor. How you get these minions to follow you is unbelievable.
Can we
It's
take a
ridiculous.
vote and let's
They're
move
as
the
little as you are at this.
Mr. Monica, you stay on. Mr. Marinello has left the meeting.
That's okay. We don't. Right now, we're good. So go forward, please.
Throw him off again.
Lizette, take the roll call,
I
please.
did. You know why? It's rude.
Put him back on, Mario.
You know what? We're not going to let you do that.
Well, we have Jason still on, so that's okay.
And what is 132 going to have a new number? What are you doing?
Does that?
No, it just moves to the top of the list. You don't need to have another number.
Councilman Farrow,
Which one is the
132. We're voting on 132.
It's the retaliation censure.
My question is, my name is.
I'm sorry.
Yes or no, Ramon?
Yes or no?
No, he had a question for legal counsel.
Question. Do I have to vote? My name is, to vote on the resolution?
No, you can recuse.
Do I have to recuse or?
Okay, go on to the next person. We have all night to decide yes or no.
You can do whatever you want.
Yes, but in a timely manner.
What was his vote?
Lizette?
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
Am I conflicted on voting on this?
No.
No.
Mr. Marinello?
he
You
was
threw him out.
Mario kicked them out.
That's Jason Bonica.
Mr. Bonica?
No.
No, you can vote, Councilman Wu.
Whatever way you like.
No.
Councilman
Is there also going to be a censure of Debbie Sabari for lying to the public?
All right, well, that's
Felon?
another day.
You can go ahead and do that.
Next.
No, I'm not that little.
Is Councilman Farrow voting?
It's
Oh,
smaller.
no. Just go
Yeah.
after something from
So
30 years ago when I was
Congratulations.
my
You
young
lost the
teen.
election.
Okay.
This is a resolution that I'm
That's
really, I'm a big fan of, actually.
Okay, let's continue with borough business, please.
119.
I don't
Promotion
vote
of police
for
officer.
Councilman.
Hold on, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe Mr. Farrow voted.
He did vote.
He did vote. He voted no.
Wake
Thank
up. He
There
Okay,
you go, let's
voted no.
okay.
Promotion of police officers for lieutenant, promotion of police officers, sergeant.
Okay, I can't hear the.
Promotion,
What?
the,
19, right?
we're on 119. And I thank all the police officers who are on this, who have been waiting for this moment. I think it's a great occasion for you to celebrate promotions and also to celebrate the new department with leadership of Ken. Done a great job. Captain McDermott. So I'm looking forward to this. And the promotion to rank of Sergeant Ronald, Sergeant Colin Holt, Sergeant Stephen Hudson, Sergeant Nicholas Rose, Sergeant Simmons Thomas. And the promotion to rank of Sergeant, Officer John Flannelly, Officer Ryan Peterson, Officer Jay Lee, Officer Raoul, and Officer Demetria Saladjani. So with that, I seek a motion from the council.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Ramon.
Councilperson Pharaoh,
Yes.
Sabari,
He's muted.
Yes, and you really have to stop, Mayor. You can't keep muting us.
Did not mute you.
Oh, you're a liar.
But he doesn't have that authority after tonight.
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
Yes.
passes.
And I congratulate all the new lieutenants, all the new and their families. We greatly appreciate everything you do for Englewood Cliffs. Separately, you know, if we're on Zoom, you're welcome in person. Sorry. So next up, resolution 20-120. This is a not to exceed amount. Cost, waste of money. I would not do that. There's no motion. We'll move on.
So moved.
I need a second.
I can't second because I'm muted. This is ridiculous.
Mario, cut it out.
No one is
We're just going to mute us so that we can't second it because you don't want to vote on it. Stop
All right,
being
do the seconds. Let's vote on it, please.
Who
Come on,
seconded?
gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, well, anything better than sitting here talking to you.
Okay, Councilpersons Pharaoh,
No.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
No.
Resolution 20-21. Resolution authorizing a not to exceed amount of Jeffrey Surratt. Again, waste of money.
So moved.
I think we could just go ahead and combine 21 to 23.
No, Terry can vote separately.
Okay, vote separate. So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
No.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
No.
Resolution 20-22. Resolution authorizing not to exceed amount to Diego Shahinian and John Tomasi. Waste of money. I would not do that.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
No.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu.
No.
Resolution 20-23. Resolution authorizing for harbor consolidation.
Second.
So here, you know, they cut us out also. So I cut us off also.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
No.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
No.
Resolution 20-124. Renewal of preliminary retail consumption license.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
Yes.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu.
No.
Resolution 20-125. Trust fund application, municipal endorsing resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
Yes.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu.
I'm going to vote no.
Resolution 20-126, approving the bylaws of South Bergen Municipal Joint Insurance Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
Going to abstain.
I'm sorry?
Who's abstaining? Yeah.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu.
I'm going to abstain as well. I have no information on this.
It has to do with.
Resolution 20-127, resolution for approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Fifth Street roadway improvements project.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
Yes. Yes.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
Resolution 20-128, authorizing settlement of Ashish and Avanti Karnani Block 1104, Lot 12, 16 Barbara Drive.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Councilpersons Pharaoh,
Abstain.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Sung,
Yes.
Aversa,
Recuse.
Wu.
Yes.
Ms. Duffy, I'm curious why we're not having the tax appeal attorneys for the borough show up at closed session to discuss these tax settlements. We've always done it that.
I believe he
And
was,
particularly in light of us having a commercial property this time around for the next resolution.
Ms. Duffy, is there a reason why they didn't show up today?
it was discussed at the prior meeting, 2 meetings ago.
Yeah, we used to always have an attorney take us through this.
All the time they used to be the attorney.
This has been since July. This was discussed back in July.
He was here in July on these?
No.
No.
We had
Is this a
discussed it.
recommendation?
Well, that's pretty nice. The question was, why are we not having a tax attorney show up at our closed session like always? That is a question for you, Ms. Duffy.
You know, I don't want to go back and forth with you guys on this. The last reduction that we approved was for a resident. and there was no attorney present to discuss that with us either. So can we please
Well,
stop this
I had a question for Ms. Duffy.
forward?
Councilwoman Sabari, I had asked if the tax appeal attorney was needed, the one you're referencing. And the resolutions were read after I gave them to the governing body along with a correspondence. And for that particular matter, I was told no.
Who did you ask?
I understand. Did our attorney make a recommendation that this is a settlement that we should
Who
be?
did you ask, Ms. Duffy?
I don't hear.
Did you ask me or did you ask Ms. Sabari?
Well, why don't we just table it then until the attorney is here then?
I want an answer to my question, Ms. Duffy. Who did you ask?
I just told you, when I sent the emails out, I asked the entire governing body.
We always get that, especially when you're giving large amounts. It's up to the council if they want to vote on these right now. If they want to vote on 20-129, authorizing settlement of 547.
Are you okay with 128?
I meant to ask sooner. Relax. Block 7, lot 14.
I'm just trying to.
It's fine if the council wants to do this.
Let's just
From
take
now
the.
on, Ms. Duffy, stand in the rules, have the tax attorney show up.
Okay, so move. Let's move forward. I'm going to move to pass the resolution.
Fine, is there a second? Is there a second?
I don't even know if everybody's muted or not muted.
No one, I didn't mute anyone.
Okay, I'm good if nobody wants to second it. We
Is
can
a
move on.
second?
So there's no second on 20-120.
Nope.
We'll move forward.
Okay.
Is that okay to move forward, everybody?
Yeah,
All right.
move on.
20-130. Resolution for authorization to construct and install COVID-19 memorial at Whitty Field. Now,
So moved.
the memorial, I wanted to have the Eagles here to explain what he's going to do. And I've also directed several times to make sure that we have a facility that permits us to give us parkland for a memorial to a private individual, and also to use borough employees for the DPW to do this. That was how it was presented to me. Ms. Duffy, legal.
I think that's reasonable. I move that motion.
That's a different answer. I'm asking Ms. Duffy.
I can't even understand what
I can't understand you either, Mary. You're fading in and out.
You're giving up parkland to an individual for a private project.
I don't know. Are you against it or are you for it?
I believe the Eagle Scout is on here, but what
Okay,
is
but-
the question? Because they can't hear you.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, hold on a second. I just wanted the attorney to say whether or not this is permitted. Jason, were you consulting about this?
I can't hear a word you're saying, Mayor.
Neither can I. I have no idea what he's trying, the point he's making. Now I can't hear nothing.
That's worse.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Maybe not.
So the question was
Oh, that's better.
whether or not we are permitted legally to provide parkland, which is a public property, to an individual, a private memorial, and also to use DPW employees to construct that memorial. I think it's a noble cause. I think it's also maybe premature because we're still in the middle of the pandemic, but I could see myself past that. I just want to make sure that we have a legal opinion and I've been asked that we can do this.
Have you asked this question to council prior to tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know about this until you asked the question now, so I'd have to look into it, Mayor.
I've been emailing, I've emailed Lizette no fewer than 4 times. Marinello's been on those emails.
Yes, and the resolution, Jason, just so you know, the resolution was written by Joe. He read the information provided to us by the Eagle Scout. The entire project will be erected by the Eagle Scout.
Okay, I mean, if Joe says you can do it, and he wrote this, then you can do it.
Joe wrote the
Well,
resolution.
I was told actually,
I think if Joe wrote the resolution, that means that.
Duffy, so you're saying that no borough employees will be used, right?
What I said was the Eagle Scout will be erecting the entire project.
You had told me that DPW employees would be used.
I can't hear you.
You told me that DPW employees would be used. Is that not the case?
Well, that's what it said. That's what it says on the resolution. It says it will be installed by the Borough Department of Public Works.
No, that's incorrect.
Now that's different.
Right,
Well,
that's what it says,
say
though.
that.
The installation will be by the Eagle Scout.
So if we cross that line out, it just says, whereas the plan would provide for the memorial to be located at Whitty Field and to be installed by the Borough Department of Public Works.
It'll be installed by, the Eagle Scout has to do the project in order to get credit.
Okay, but I'm just telling you what the resolution says.
Correct, okay, so that needs to be removed. Now, the superintendent may supervise if the dirt has to be shifted and may give him a laborer just to move the dirt. That's it.
Listen, the department, the DPW has to be involved.
Well,
The resident can't just go up there and start to build a memorial. I think the concept and the idea is great, but I don't see what the issue is. The DPW helps with what they might need.
Well, like I said, I met with the Eagle Scout along with the DPW superintendent. We reviewed the area, and as soon as we were done, I called the mayor on the phone and I told him exactly what was being done while I was at the park, and he was not against it. What the DPW superintendent stated was that he will be there when the dirt is being moved to make sure that it's all level and it's not too much dirt is taken out. Will he be providing one laborer? I don't know. Mark may do it himself. I'm not certain. But other than that, the entire work will be done by the Eagle Scout, because then he doesn't get any credit.
So, Ms. Duffy, I have asked for a legal opinion. I know Marinello permits us to do that. I know Marinello wrote a resolution, but an opinion in writing is what I wanted. It doesn't sound like you did what I asked you to do.
Yes, I did do what you asked me to do numerous times. The entire governing body was copied. Mr. Marinello was copied. Whenever you wrote back, you removed Mr. Marinello from the emails.
Is there a legal opinion?
I don't understand.
We're giving up public property. No, look, we are giving up public property. I just want to make sure that it's legal to do that.
Well, why don't you let Marinello back in the meeting?
Well, I have Jason here.
Well, you're asking for Joe's opinion, and you wouldn't even let him back in. Mario, you're ridiculous.
It shouldn't come down to the night of the meeting.
That's ridiculous, Mario. You just don't want to get any borough business done.
Let's just vote on it. I mean, these people have been waiting.
Either we're deprive this kid of doing his project because you're stubborn. I mean, come on, just let him in so we can continue.
Why don't we ask?
All right, hold on a second. Just to be clear, I want the Eagle Scouts.
The Eagle Scout is on. Why don't you allow him to speak?
You guys let him use property. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sal, can you hear us?
Hi, Lisette. It's actually Dominic Perugini, 61 Tony Drive. Salvatore's dad. Unfortunately, he was on since 7:30 and fell asleep during the whole meeting. So
I'm jealous.
I'm here to answer any questions that you might have regarding the project, but you are correct in referencing that the project is going to be completed by Sal and volunteers from his Eagle Scout troop. When we did speak to the DPW, the recommendation was that, or the offer was that he was going to leave a bucket or a bag that we could put all the dirt in that he would be able to take away and reuse within the town. That's the extent of the DPW. He's more than welcome to come and supervise to make sure there's, that we do things the correct way, or that my son will be doing things the correct way. But it is a COVID memorial to memorize the people that passed away and the healthcare workers and the essential workers that worked through this last few months. So it was a project that he came to on his own, and we thought that it would be a nice spot to place at Whitty Field, between the Little League field and the softball field, right across from the batting cages. So,
Just a quick thank you. I appreciate you giving us that. I think it's a great project for your son. I wish him all the best.
Thank you.
The question for the council is, would it be more appropriate that firehouse? I mean, it's getting flooded a bit, and I'm just asking if there's a better, more poignant location for it, given that the first responders are here, and it's really, they are the most relevant part of it, and other than the victims. I just throw that out there, Council.
I don't understand. Do you have another spot that you would prefer to see it at?
Well, the park is getting flooded. A lot of people at the fire department, and also the ambulance building, which might be more appropriate. So I'm putting that out there to the Borough Council.
Well, the fire department has the 9/11 memorial, so I don't know where we would put that. Where else were you suggesting? The ambulance?
There's not a heck of a lot of room around there.
It's grass by the ambulance.
Are you, I mean, I think the idea is for it to be close to the residents.
Right next to
Why don't we just vote on it?
Yeah, so I make a motion.
And I second.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Have you make sure you're allowed to do this, Jason. Or they're allowed to do this, Jason.
What?
I said, have your vote. Then make sure that this is all.
Councilperson Sparrow,
I'm going to abstain on this.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
I'm gonna vote yes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm gonna vote yes on it, but I'd really like to see Jason Bonica and Joe please tell us formally that borough property can be used.
Please check your emails. You'll see Joe's response. And like I said, he drafted the resolution. Had he not been in agreement, he would have advised not.
Okay, we did the vote. It's good.
We also voted to use the DPW employees.
That's a mistake, Mayor. I'll take that off.
Well, right, it's a lot of mistakes.
Okay, can we move on to the next resolution, please?
Utilizing and moving the dirt.
So the next item up is resolution 131, authorizing an emergency installation of fence.
So moved.
That's police department.
So moved.
Second,
Councilperson Sparrow,
Yes.
Sabari,
Yes.
O,
yes.
Sung,
Yes.
Aversa,
Yes.
Wu,
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, I'm muted.
I didn't mute you.
Motion to adjourn.
Muted.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Favor.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.